was a military veteran. But it's unclear if that experience is enough to protect them from liability. Local gun rights activist Clark Aposian says you need to be licensed to function as security.
If they were hired as security, they have to be licensed by DOPL. And if they're carrying a gun as part of that, they have to be armed licensed security.
Chris Bertram, retired deputy chief from Unified Police, says it's not uncommon for events to have their own security, but they're not always known to police, which poses another problem.
I think with these bigger ones, you may not know who all of them are. Plus, there may be, again, self-designated peacekeepers in the group that you don't know of.
Salt Lake City police say they are not trained, overseen, or sanctioned by the department and are legally considered the same as any other member of the public. The organizers say the peacekeeper in this case was questioned by police but not arrested. That's the person police believe shot Alou. The other man with the gun was arrested, but his intentions are still unclear. We're still waiting to hear more about potential charges from prosecutors. Reporting live, Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
There is a growing memorial of flowers in downtown Salt Lake at the location that the man was shot and killed during the No Kings protest. And last night, around 100 people gathered for a vigil to remember the life of Arthur Afa Alou. Richard Wolfgram was among the crowd and tells KSL TV he was a good friend to Afa and was with him when he was shot.
But I saw his hat, and then I looked at everything else that body on State Street was wearing, and it was Afa.
Wolfgram says Afa was motivated to join the protest because of his belief in the U.S. Constitution. Afa recently became a U.S. citizen. KSL's top national stories. Tensions continue to run high in the Middle East as Iran and Israel trade missile attacks. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Tel Aviv, where he says air raid sirens have been going off all day.
Here in Tel Aviv, as people are trying to go on with their daily lives, a number of shops that would ordinarily be open are closed, and as people go on with their daily lives, they may be at the doctor's office or anywhere else, and when those sirens go off, they immediately go to a bomb shelter.
At least 24 people have been killed in Israel, around 220 or more in Iran. President Trump has been vocal about the aerial attacks on social media.
President Trump writes in a new social media post Tuesday afternoon that the U.S. knows where Iran's supreme leader is hiding and adds, quote, "He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now." The message coming after two U.S. officials told ABC News Sunday that the president rejected an Israeli plan in recent days to kill Ayatollah Khamenei. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told ABC Monday that Israel won't rule out an attempt to assassinate him. President Trump in his post Tuesday says the U.S. does not want to see missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers, adding, quote, "Our patience is wearing thin." Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Utah Senator Mike Lee is getting a lot of heat today. It's because of two social media posts now removed that appear to make light of the shootings that killed a Minnesota lawmaker and their spouse. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Senator Lee posted a surveillance photo of the alleged Minnesota gunman Vance Bolter on his Based Mike Lee X account with the caption, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way." He later shared two photos of Bolter with the caption "Nightmare on Walt Street," which appears to reference Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Since then, Lee has faced a tidal wave of criticism from national news outlets like the New York Times to lawmakers on both sides of the aisle.
In an MSNBC interview, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar says she condemns Lee's behavior and says she intends to speak with him about those posts.
This isn't funny what happened here. This was an incredible woman, her husband, her two kids yesterday on Father's Day. There was no Father's Day for them. They lost both their parents.
Minnesota Republican Representative Nolan West posted that Lee isn't immune from social media impulses and said that he should apologize and do better. We've reached out to Senator Lee's office for comment but have not heard back. But as you heard first from inside sources on KSL News Radio, those social media posts have now been removed. Opinions on mail-in voting are split down the middle. The Deseret News and Hinckley Institute of Politics poll found 50% of registered voters say they prefer to automatically receive their ballots rather than having to opt in to receive mail-in ballots. The results differ based on party affiliation. 2/3 of registered Democrats say they like the current system, and 42% of registered Republicans say they prefer the opt-in method. First look traffic. Good afternoon, Ricky.
Good afternoon, Maria. Right now, we do have a small accident. It's really not a bother since it is out of traffic. This is at the mouth of Parley's Canyon, westbound I-80. All vehicles are over to the shoulder. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:05.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
When is the optimal time to file for Social Security? That could help you get every penny that is rightfully yours. Get the answer in a free report, your guide to filing for Social Security in 2025 and beyond. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, who's helped tens of thousands of families get the most out of their benefits. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, get your free report now by calling 801-251-1046. Timing, taxes, spousal benefits. This free report details the most critical things you must consider that could help you get the most income from your Social Security benefits today. Get this free report right now by calling 801-251-1046. That number again, 801-251-1046.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
Thank you for joining us for Midday. Recapping KSL's top story, a growing memorial honors the bystander who was shot and killed during this weekend's No Kings protest in Salt Lake City. KSL News Time, 12:07. A man in Carbon County is facing a long list of felonies after police say he used his head to smash through a police truck window to escape arrest. KSL News Radio's Rendell Jepson has more.
This all happened in East Carbon, where an officer was called to a city park on reports of a guy that was intoxicated. Well, the officer, he determined William Weber was drunk based off the smell and mostly the empty bottle of vodka. But when the suspect was put in the police truck, a probable cause statement says he tried to kick out the cage. Then he used his head to smash through the back window of the truck, and he was able to get out. The court documents say he found a UTV, drove through a fence. The Carbon County Sheriff's Department showed up to help. They did eventually catch him after 5 hours. Rendell Jepson, KSL News Radio.
2 men were found unconscious in Park City in what police think was a carbon monoxide poisoning. The Park Record reports it happened yesterday afternoon at the Treasure Mountain Inn. The 2 men were reportedly in a stairwell in the parking garage, sanding concrete using equipment powered by a generator. The building was evacuated after high levels of carbon monoxide were found in the garage and other locations of the building. Wyoming mothers are being left with no good options as labor and delivery units are closing in hospitals around the state. President of the Wyoming Hospital Association, Eric Boley, tells KSL-TV there is no money in delivering babies.
But if you're only delivering 20 or 30 babies a year, but you have that overhead that's always in place and keeping the training and everything, it becomes really problematic.
He says most of the babies born in the area are also born on Medicaid. They have also been having problems recruiting since the state's abortion laws were passed. Now, this leaves Wyoming women with options like renting Airbnbs close to Utah hospitals or making them drive several hours while in labor. 5 women's soccer players from Utah universities are heading to the new U.S. Soccer Women's College Talent Identification Camp. BYU tied Michigan State for schools with the most players, going with 3. Utah State has 2 players heading to Atlanta for the camp. The camp is designed to help U.S. Soccer find younger talent for youth national teams in the college game. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's double rewards credit card promotion. What's happening on the roads, Ricky?
Well, we do have a small accident, but it's not causing any delay. This is going to be in the lower portion of Parley's Canyon, westbound I-80, not far from the quarry and approaching the mouth of the canyon coming into the valley. Again, completely out of traffic, not even close to slowing you down. What we do have as far as slowdowns has been southbound I-15 going by Burton Lane from Kaysville to Farmington. Of course, that due to road work. And some unusual slowing right now. We'll try to find what's causing this. Northbound I-15 between 4500 South and 33rd South in South Salt Lake. Connect your family with nature this spring. Container gardening with plants from Olson's Greenhouse will get them off their screens and out in the yard. For tips and ideas, visit ogg.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
All right, folks, your Tuesday is an absolute beauty. I've got sunshine today with a northwest breeze and a high of 87 degrees. 63 in the overnight, clear skies. We will jump back to 93 on your Wednesday afternoon, blue skies. Hey, breezy out of the south, cranking temperatures Thursday to our first 100-degree day of the season. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Just not sure I'm ready for 100 right now. Very pleasant 81 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Coming up on Midday with Maria Shilaos, we'll try to help you understand the controversy over Utah Senator Mike Lee's X account. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station. Well, no doubt that summer's hot temperatures are here, and if you are not enjoying being in your swimsuit or your shorts and you're still thinking you'd like to take off those extra pounds, I want to tell you about something that's worked for me, and that is Salt Lake City Fat Loss. With this great plan, I have lost more than 40 pounds. I'm in maintenance, and it really just took the frustration out of losing weight. It uses just a simple combination of foods to burn off that stored fat. That means it's all natural. No injections, no medications, no surgeries, just that simple combination of foods. I've lost more than 40 pounds. Many of their clients lose up to a pound per day. Right now, you can still save $200. All you need to do is find out more at slcfatloss.com. You can also call them at 801-450-1882. slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com.
Attention RVers! In 57 years, Motorsportsland has never had a sale like this before. We've got over 100 new models coming in and our lots are already almost full. We've got to clear out inventory fast, so we've selected over 100 new travel trailers, fifth wheels, and toy haulers to sell to you at or below dealer cost. Like our 2024 Encore Venue off-road travel trailer, MSRP at $30,000, normally priced at $25,000, dealer cost at $22,400, and this week only priced to you for below $17,000 with amazing financing options. Or our 2024 28-foot Stealth Toy Hauler fifth wheel, MSRP at $99,330, normally priced at $83,500, this week only $67,743. Save more than ever before on your dream RV. But these deals are disappearing quick, so visit a Motorsportsland RV Center today.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
For nearly 70 years, Les Olson IT has been the trusted name for businesses. From state-of-the-art printers and copiers to managed IT services, we have the solutions you need to stay ahead in today's world. And now Les Olson IT is trusted and licensed in Utah for security systems, for technology that helps you work smarter. Les Olson IT, providing solutions that empower your business.
Les Olson IT.
Behold, 'tis I, Queen Trustworth, sentinel for seniors amongst the knights of Scamalot, here to give thee warning. Scams and fraud are on the rise in Utah, and seniors are especially under siege. Be wary of unsolicited texts, phone calls, and salespeople asking for personal or financial information, and never send money to someone thou hast only met online. If thou hast doubts, talk to someone thou trusteth and get educated at scams.utah.gov.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
KSL News Time, 12:16. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
we're hearing from the organizers of a downtown Salt Lake City protest for the first time and what they say led up to one of their security volunteers firing his weapon, which accidentally killed an innocent bystander. I'm KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Second, UDOT is urging drivers to report potholes or road cracking on their app as soon as they see it, as temperatures heat up and raise the risk of buckling. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
Whatever was causing the slowing northbound on I-15 after 45th South, it seems to have eased. We are starting to see good speeds return from on northbound I-15 from Murray to South Salt Lake. But a new crash, I-215, this is near 700 North. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cooler today with highs in the 80s, but our first triple is in the forecast. I'm Matt Johnson.
Sunshine, 81 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time for KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franson. After returning a day early from the G7 summit in Canada to deal with the escalation between Israel and Iran, President Trump, in a social media post, says we control all of Iran's airspace now and says it's time for Iran to give up its nuclear plans. He also directed his message to Iran's supreme leader. Here's ABC's Karen Travers.
President Trump writes in a new social media post Tuesday afternoon that the U.S. knows where Iran's supreme leader is hiding and adds, quote, he is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. The message coming after 2 U.S. officials told ABC News Sunday that the president rejected an Israeli plan in recent days to kill Ayatollah Khamenei. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told ABC Monday that Israel won't rule out an attempt to assassinate him.
The president urged Iranians to flee Tehran and says he also doesn't want missiles launched toward U.S. troops or citizens. In Iran, Reza Pahlavi is the exiled crown prince of Iran. His father was the last Shah of Iran until the Islamic Republic Revolution in 1979. He says the majority of Iranians want peace and freedom.
This is a nation that wants to be at peace with its neighbors, with cordial relationship with our neighbors in the region, whether it's the Israelis or the Arabs and others, but also with the free world.
President Trump says he has no plans to call Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and former Democratic VP nominee following the shooting death of a state lawmaker and her husband and the wounding of another state lawmaker and his wife. The suspect is facing both state and federal charges. Walz has called the shootings of the Democratic lawmakers political. A spokesperson for Walz says the tragedy is not about Trump or Walz, but about helping victims heal. Retail sales fell sharply in May. Signs consumers are pulling back on spending as uncertainty over President Trump tariffs continue. And on Wall Street, stocks are down and trading in the afternoon. You're listening to ABC News.
Time now for the KSL In-Depth. 2 social media posts from Senator Mike Lee drew fire this week because it appeared they were making light of the shootings of 2 state lawmakers in Minnesota. As of late this morning, those social media posts are no longer online, but Deseret News congressional correspondent Cami Mondo walked Inside Sources host Holly Richardson through what was said.
He called the shooter a Marxist, basically saying that was the reason for these murders, without any evidence, without any knowledge of what the shooter's motivation might have been. And so that kind of sparked some backlash, especially from the senators from Minnesota who kind of said, please don't use, these murders, these tragic times to kind of poke fun at a very serious issue.
Yeah, can you give us just an idea of what, for example, Senator Tina Smith said to him?
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday, while we were waiting for senators to come to the Senate in the evening, Tina Smith basically wasn't commenting to anyone in the hallways, saying that she was looking for Mike Lee. after she had a conversation, she basically said that she approached him, told him that what he did was not okay, it was not funny. She kind of said that he seemed surprised, actually, to be confronted, that he wasn't expecting it, that he didn't necessarily apologize or really have a reason for why he posted, but she was very clearly upset about the whole situation.
KSL has reached out to the senator's office for comment. He has not yet responded, but again, they are no longer online. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
Right now, I'm looking at a live shot as fire crews are mopping up an earlier vehicle fire. Well, I shouldn't say vehicle fire because it looks like it's a boat that somehow was attached to another vehicle that caught on fire. And this is in Parley's Canyon, westbound I-80. It's after Lambs Canyon, but prior to Mountaindale, and crews are blocking right lanes of travel there. Then in the valley, over to the west side, we have an accident northbound on I-215's west belt prior to 7th North. A vehicle over to the shoulder. UHP has just rolled up on the scene. I'm trying to see if they're going to block a left lane of travel. It doesn't look like it, but you've got plenty of room to get around it. And again, we had earlier delays northbound I-15 approaching 33rd South. Those started to ease, but it looks like they have filled in and have slowed down again. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast starting out on the quote-unquote cool side today with a high of 87, sunshine and a bit of a northwest breeze. 93 sunshine on Wednesday. Then we'll go mostly sunny, breezy out of the south, and downright hot Thursday with a high of 102. 98 mostly sunny skies on Friday, breezy still. Windy on Saturday, mostly sunny, 89. We slide to 76 on Sunday afternoon. Then it's 81 on Monday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And it's sunny and 81 degrees downtown. 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. A quick check of the markets. Not in good shape today. We're seeing a lot of red. A couple of the indices down by at least in the triple digits. A complete update of your money news is coming up next.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
KSL News Time, 1224. At least one major food company is ditching artificial dyes.
Kraft Heinz makes ketchup, Ore-Ida potatoes, Philadelphia cream cheese, and Jell-O, among other things. The company says it's already removed the dyes from 90% of its products and intends to make that 100% in a few years. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. has claimed artificial food dyes are contributing to chronic illness. Studies have linked some food dyes to behavioral changes in children and cancer in animals. Many are banned in other countries.
That is ABC's Chuck Sievertson. Watching Utah's money, the U.S. Department of Defense is teaming up with OpenAI. It was reportedly offering the company a $200 million contract to provide the government with new AI tools. The DoD says those tools will be used to address critical national security challenges. Anyone who uses WhatsApp can expect to see advertisements on the app. It comes as the owner, Meta, tries to create more revenue through the app itself. They'll reportedly only be shown in the Updates tab. Amazon Prime Day will officially return next month. It starts July 8th. It continues for 3 days until the 11th. Now, typically, Prime Day is only 2 days. It's the first major change since 2017 when it expanded to 2 days. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is down by 327 points. That's 0.75%. It sits at 42,187. S&P down by 52 points. The NASDAQ down by nearly 1%. It's down 194 points. A new study from the University of Utah shows people who procrastinate their sleep at night are more likely to experience depression. KSL News Radio's Josue Sanchez has more.
University of Utah researchers figured this out by asking respondents to say how long they stay up at night, and then realized that these people also experienced a lack of motivation and didn't do activities they enjoy. Psychology graduate student Stephen Carlson says many people put off sleep because they're looking at their phone.
Being on their phones or watching TV, engaging in some kind of digital media use, which is largely enjoyable, but despite that might be negatively impacting their sleep.
Many people look at their phones before bed because that's when they feel a lot of anxiety. He says putting away devices before bed and setting a reminder to go to bed can help improve your sleeping schedule. Josue Sanchez, KSL News Radio.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
I am down 50 pounds in 11 weeks, and this program works. The pounds melt off. It's amazing.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself.
Get in the best shape of your life with Soda Weight Loss.
Just 3 weeks in, and pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Summer is right around the corner.
Your summer body starts right here because Soda's summer savings are on.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I tried other things, came to soda, just amazing.
I started on soda 8 months ago, and I have released 80 pounds now.
Summer savings, stunning results, only at Soda Weight Loss. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Ricky Meese.
In Parley's Canyon, right lanes are blocked due to a vehicle fire. Fire crews are still on the scene westbound I-80. It's after Lambs Canyon and prior to Mountaindale. Then in the valley, tow truck has already arrived on this small accident that we have northbound I-215's west belt at 7th North. It's out of traffic on the shoulder. Advanced Window Products, factory direct affordable windows. Call today, they're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll be running a solid 3 degrees above the normal, but rather pleasant at 87 degrees today with plenty of sunshine and a bit of a northwest breeze. Overnight, 63 clear skies. Tomorrow, 93. Then we're up to 102. We could break a record by Thursday afternoon. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Breezy, 81 degrees downtown.
You're listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos
on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time 1230. KSL's top story. The organizers of the No Kings rally in Salt Lake City are speaking out for the first time since the protest on Saturday, where an innocent bystander was fatally shot. The group 5051 says that their security volunteers were responding to a man who witnesses say had a rifle. The volunteer shot the alleged rifleman as well as Afa Alu, who was participating in the rally. In a statement to KSL, the group says the volunteer in question is a military veteran and acted with the belief that there was imminent danger to the other protesters. Tensions are growing between Israel and Iran with more aerial missile strikes today from both sides. President Trump left the G7 summit early, then posted on social media that the U.S. knows where Iran's supreme leader is, but has no plans to take him out. That is stoking concerns of more direct U.S. involvement and a strong response from at least one congressional Republican.
The measure to block the use of U.S. forces in Iran is being introduced by Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie. It already has several prominent Democratic co-sponsors. The bill invokes the 1973 War Powers Act, which calls for the removal of U.S. forces from a conflict if both houses pass a concurrent resolution. But that law, which was enacted over a president's veto, has been the subject of interbranch debate over its constitutionality since it went on the books 5 decades ago.
That is ABC's Stephen Portnoy reporting. People in Israel say the air raid sirens have been going off constantly closer to home. Utah Valley University simulated what it would be like if a bomb went off on campus.
Law enforcement and emergency medical workers from several different agencies here in Utah County all rushed to the aid of stage victims here at the UCCU Center. In this case, the victims are kids who volunteered to act, some with fake shrapnel attached to them with stage quality makeup and all. Some even got taken in real ambulances to local hospitals.
It's invaluable. I mean, we don't get to do this very often, so anytime that we do, it's a great way to work out the bugs.
Jeff Long is the police chief here at UVU.
Practice in anything you do in life, right, is paramount, and this is no exception.
Long tells me they've been training for active shooters for some time, given how many of those we've seen in recent years. But he says bomb threats are also on the rise, and they felt they needed to be just as prepared for those. But he also encouraged others to be prepared to rise to the occasion if this were to ever happen in real life.
Take a CPR course, know how to stop a bleed, have a skill that is going to save someone's life.
At UVU, Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Other national stories KSL is following. U.S. senators got a briefing today from Capitol Police in the wake of a deadly attack on 2 Minnesota state lawmakers.
A list found in the vehicle of Minnesota murder suspect Vance Bolter included the names of politicians well beyond Minnesota, including Michigan Congresswoman Debbie Dingell.
They called and said the FBI that my name had been on the list.
Some politicians named in the list have canceled public appearances, but Dingell says,
I'm going to keep fighting for the people that I represent.
Against the advice of her staff, she went ahead with a town hall meeting last night in her district. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Social media posts from Utah Senator Mike Lee appearing to make light of the attacks have been removed as of today. Breaking news. 2 toy companies are asking the Supreme Court to step in and hear their case against President Trump's tariffs. Learning Resources and Hand to Mind both make educational toys, in their appeal. They claim the president did not have the power to put those tariffs in place using the International Economic Powers Act. Their request essentially asks the Supreme Court to step in before a lower appeals court does, so that oral arguments could be held as soon as this fall. The Utah Department of Transportation is warning drivers in 2 different counties to plan for delays as they start construction on I-80.
I-80 in Summit County near Snyderville will be repaved, so drivers can expect some lane closures. This will continue through the summer and into fall.
It's summer, so anytime you see road work happening on state roadways, just make sure you reduce your speed, use caution, and ultimately, we just want to get you going to where you want to get to safely.
UDOT spokesperson Kyler Sharp says more construction is happening in Tooele, where northbound SR 36 is being widened from Stansbury Park and continuing onto I-80 East to the 201 exit. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Utah transportation officials say they are keeping a close eye on the rough roads, especially in one area where potholes have become a big problem.
The area stretches from North Salt Lake to Farmington. John Gleason with the Utah Department of Transportation says there will be a big construction project in that area in a couple years, but in the meantime, potholes are a concern.
The pavement that's out there right now, it's a little bit older and it's more susceptible, that older pavement's more susceptible to potholes.
Gleason says the concern in the hot summer months is buckling pavement and urges drivers to watch for those. Any problems, including potholes, roadkill, and signal timing, can be reported on the UDOT Click and Fix app. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
First look traffic. What's happening, Ricky?
Right lane still blocked with a vehicle fire and emergency crews still on the scene westbound I-80 after Lambs Canyon. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:35.
Looking for reliable home services you can actually count on? I've got just the team for you. Mountain Home Services. They've been serving Utah since 1954 with honest, upfront pricing and zero hidden fees. Plus, they back every job with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. With summer heating up, now's the time to get your AC in shape. Mountain Home Services delivers fast, expert air conditioning service to keep your home cool and comfortable. And don't forget, they also handle electrical and plumbing work with the same trusted care. And here's the best part. KSL listeners get exclusive limited-time specials, but you have to call and ask. These deals won't last, so don't miss your chance to save. Call 801-543-2222 today and tell them KSL sent you. That's 801-543-2222 or visit mountainhomeservices.com. Get the service you need and the deal you deserve.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto-pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Thank you for joining me for Midday. The organizers of this weekend's No Kings protest in Salt Lake City now say the peacekeeper who fired shots at a man with a gun was a volunteer with military experience. KSL News Time, 12:37. Draper City is hoping to reopen a portion of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail closed by a weekend wildfire.
It's a really short section of trail. It's kind of towards the outer edge of our trail system, so it shouldn't impact many trail users at all.
Draper City Trails and Open Space Manager Greg Hilvig says the trail is closed between the steep mountain access and Ann's Trail West Junction. He says firefighters asked the city to close the quarter-mile of trail while they work on cleaning up after the fire. An increased number of search and rescue missions has Garfield County turning to a permit system for entering the slot canyons. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The permits aren't limited or timed, and they're free. The county's tourism director, Fallon Owens, says the goal is really just to promote safe recreation.
It's mostly to just give us information on who's traveling here to the area, how many people are in their party, so we kind of have an idea who is in the canyon.
Owens says the permits also detail how difficult the slot canyons can be and how serious they are about safety. Search and rescue missions in the most remote areas can take more than 2 hours. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
It's firefly season in Utah, and yes, we do have fireflies. KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson has more.
While sightings are rare, on the Natural History Museum of Utah's website, Entomology Collections Manager Christy Bill says they can be seen across the state.
Dozens and dozens of populations, and so far I think we're up to 25 of the 29 counties have verified populations.
Utah fireflies are adults from late May to early July and only blink during that time period after about 10 o'clock at night. And since most people don't hike or camp in marshy areas where they're located, it's understandable that most Utahns haven't seen them. But the Western Firefly Project wants people to report to the Natural History Museum of Utah if they do see them, so they can track where the populations are and study them. Britt Johnson, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have the crews on the scene of this vehicle fire. It was actually a boat in Parley's Canyon. They're getting ready to take off and open up those right lanes of travel westbound I-80. It's after Lambs Canyon, but before Mountaindale. You'll see it's really hasn't caused any kind of backup or delays. But again, they're in the final cleanup stages there for Parley's Canyon drivers on westbound I-80. Here in the valley, we have 2 crashes very near the same area. This is on I-215's west belt on the northbound side by 7th North. One vehicle loaded on the tow truck over to the left shoulder, another by the ramp on the right shoulder. It looks like everybody is still out of traffic and we're not seeing any delays from those crashes. Discover the art of adventure in Cedar City, the gateway to parks, plays, high elevation recreation, ATV and downhill trails, chairlift rides, topped off with unique shops and savory bites. Plan a visit to cedarcity.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
All right, temperatures a lot more bearable today. How about a high of 87, a breezy northwest wind, and sunshine? We'll go 63 overnight, clear skies, 93 tomorrow afternoon, blue skies. Thursday, winds kick up out of the south. That's going to crank temperatures up to our first triple of the season. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And it's sunny and 81 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Excuse me. Coming up on Midday, why some parts of Utah can be more tricky than others when someone gets lost. We'll chat live with Uinta Triangle host Dave Colley. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. The best class I ever taught was a complete accident. It was in the spring and the classroom was scheduled to be painted, that ugly beige color. So we decided just once to meet in a pavilion in a park with the mountains on one side and a stream on the other. My 90-minute class stretched into 3 hours, not because of me, but because the class wanted to go deeper and further in our discussion. We held the next class in the same place. I used the same syllabus and readings from previous classes, but our natural setting triggered deeper inquiry that continued over the 7-week spring term. Think of all the poetry, innovation, and even spiritual insights that began in nature, where there are no slides, videos, or beige walls to confine your thinking. Then consider nature for your next team meeting. Learn more about learning in an MBA program from Utah State. Go to utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Got an app idea? You're sitting on a gold mine, but stuck on how to bring it to life? Meet Dev Simplify, your superheroes for web and mobile app creation. Dev Simplify. DevSimplify.com. Just ask Coach Mike with Practice Planner Live.
As a coach, technology isn't my strength, but Dev Simplify took my idea for Practice Planner Live and turned it into the top practice planning platform on the market. They transformed my non-technical vision into an incredible web and mobile app that coaches like me now can't live without.
See, you don't need to be a tech wizard. Your idea plus Dev Simplify's superhero software skills equals a big win, right, Mike?
I had big plans for my app, and with Dev Simplify's help, it's now a thriving must-have platform for all coaches.
Dev Simplify, turning your brilliant ideas into amazing web and mobile. No tech skills required. Visit DevSimplify.com and let the magic begin. DevSimplify.com. Spring cleaning season is wrapping up, but it's not too late to give your carpets the ultimate refresh. Whether it's dirt from foot traffic, pet stains, or just the wear and tear of everyday life, Zero Res carpet and air duct cleaning can bring your floors back to life. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $129 when you mention KSL. Zero Res uses a patented cleaning process with no soaps, no harsh chemicals, and no residue, so your carpets dry faster and stay cleaner longer. That means a healthier home for your family, pets, and guests. Don't wait until the craziness of summer is in full swing. Make your home feel fresh, clean, and truly ready for the season ahead. And get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $129 when you mention KSL. Call Zero Res or schedule online at zerores.com to get your home cleaned the right way. Zerores.com.
KSL News Time 1245. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
organizers from this weekend's deadly protest say the so-called peacekeeper who hit an innocent bystander was prior military. We're still waiting to hear who will be charged and with what in this case. I'm KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson.
Second, Garfield County is implementing a permit system for hikers in slot canyons to help keep people safe. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
Another crash on I-215. This time it's in Murray on the South Belt. Look for it as you're going westbound, right about State Street, but all the vehicles involved are out of traffic on the shoulder. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Comfortable June temperatures today with a bit of a north breeze. And then we're talking about triples. I'm Matt Johnson.
Sunny 81 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time for KSL's top national stories.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump now calling for Iran's complete surrender of its nuclear program, saying the U.S. controls the skies over all of Iran and says a strike against the supreme leader is not off the table, posting he's an easy target. ABC's Karen Travers says it's a big change after U.S. and Iran nuclear talks were scheduled.
That 6th round of talks was scheduled for last weekend in Oman, and Iran canceled it after the Israeli strikes. Now, the president had said that he had told Iran to make a deal and that they need to make a deal, but he said right now he is not too much in the mood to negotiate.
The commander-in-chief of the Iranian army issuing a new warning for Israel, saying a punitive response is coming. ICE agents took New York Comptroller Brad Lander into custody today. Sources tell ABC News he was detained for obstructing an immigration hearing. Lander is also running for New York City mayor. A press release says he was observing immigration hearings. This is ABC News.
Time now for the KSL In-Depth. The latest episode of the newest KSL podcast out today demonstrates just how challenging search and rescue efforts can be in the Utah mountains. Uinta Triangle host Dave Cawley is with me in studio. And Dave, all of these episodes have focused on the disappearance of one solo hiker in the high Uintas. So why is this terrain so potentially tricky for hikers?
You know, I think Utah is full of areas that can trip people up. We've seen just today that news story about down in southern Utah, a new permit system for slot canyons. But I think the high Uintas really tricks people because it is managed as wilderness. So if you go back into the high Uintas wilderness, you're talking about an area where there are no motor vehicle roads allowed, so you're maybe 10, 15 miles back on trails that you have to walk in or be on horseback. And so if something goes wrong, the odds of getting quick help are pretty low in that environment. That's a big part of it.
So how do these searchers, how do they go about this?
Yeah, one of the things that we're seeing in the Uinta Triangle podcast is kind of this play-by-play of the search for Eric Robinson in 2011. And a lot of it was people who were taking 3 or 5 days at a time to go back and search some of these remote areas. A lot of it was flying over with a helicopter. But even then, you're talking about such a large area. And, a helicopter moving over that terrain, you've got trees, boulders, and things that can hide maybe somebody who's on the ground who's unresponsive from searchers. So a lot of times in these search and rescue situations, the first thing that you'll see teams do is they'll blitz kind of the trails. But if you're off a trail, now that's another thing that can really raise your risk because they won't know to look for you in a place away from a trail.
Okay, so you're one of these people who like to go out into these remote areas. What kinds of tips do you have for folks who do this?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is have a plan and make contingency plans. So somebody should know where you're going to be, when you expect to be back, but then also do your planning before you leave on the trip to know if something goes wrong, what are the trouble spots? how will I get around, say, an obstacle? If I can't get over a mountain pass, what are my other choices to self-rescue, and then carry some form of notification. In the backcountry, even if you're away from cell phone service now, a lot of phones have satellite messaging, or you can carry a beacon that can summon help.
Okay, we're going to talk more about this coming up at 2:45 on Midday.
I'm looking forward
Thanks,
to it.
Dave. We'll be glad to have you back in just a few minutes. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Ricky Meese.
Another day of delays for Davis County drivers. Expect slowdowns in the work zone on southbound I-15 near Burton Lane, going between Kaysville and Farmington. All clear once again westbound I-80 after Lambs Canyon from the earlier vehicle fire. A small accident in Murray. It's out of traffic westbound I-215 South Belt approaching State Street. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast. I've got a lot of wind and fire danger in this 7-day. Let's start with today. Sunshine, 87, northwest breeze. 93 tomorrow, sunshine. High pressure building, but also some wind out of the south on Thursday. I got a high of 102. Breezy on Friday, 98. More wind into Saturday, 89. I'm keeping it breezy through Sunday, folks, but 76 the high. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And it's sunny and breezy, 81 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. The 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. We have seen a lot of negative numbers today on Wall Street. A complete update of your money news is coming up next.
It's Julie from the Cache Valley Visitors Bureau inviting you to come celebrate summer in Logan. From nonstop festivals to super close outdoor adventures to the most charming historic downtown and great restaurants, it's all right here. Let's just stop for 1 second. I don't know why everyone who lives in Salt Lake thinks it takes 3 hours to get to Logan, but unless you're dragging a handcart, it'll only take you 1 hour and 20 minutes, so just get in your car and get up here. You know we're Utah's heart of the arts. This week, live performances of Matilda the Musical, the professional Olyark Repertory Theater's inspiring musical Bright Star, plus they open Sherlock Holmes, the final adventure. Wait, the swashbuckling Broadway hit The Scarlet Pimpernel hits the stage too. Good night! Free concerts every weekday at noon in the Tabernacle and free concerts and movies at the Outdoor Plaza. Mark your calendars for the Cache Valley Cruise-In Classic Car Show 4th of July weekend and a packed schedule of nonstop fun all summer long. ExploreLogan.com. ExploreLogan.com.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. The best class I ever taught was a complete accident. It was in the spring and the classroom was scheduled to be painted, that ugly beige color. So we decided just once to meet in a pavilion in a park with the mountains on one side and a stream on the other. My 90-minute class stretched into 3 hours, not because of me, but because the class wanted to go deeper and further in our discussion. We held the next class in the same place. I used the same syllabus and readings from previous classes, but our natural setting triggered deeper inquiry that continued over the 7-week spring term. Think of all the poetry, innovation, and even spiritual insights that began in nature, where there are no slides, videos, or beige walls to confine your thinking. Then consider nature for your next team meeting. Learn more about learning in an MBA program from Utah State. Go to utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
ASL News Time, 12:54. Some Democrats are raising questions about the Trump family's new Trump-branded smartphone.
We've heard from some Democrats who have said this is a conflict of interest. We know that the Trump family insists that it's not, for example, that there's no conflicts of interest, and that the White House says President Trump's assets are in a trust that's managed by his children. Now, this is all very interesting because in the meantime, the Senate is actually expected to vote today on a crypto bill that would directly benefit companies with ties to President Trump and his children. So I can imagine you will still be hearing a lot from lawmakers about this today.
That is ABC's Catherine Falders reporting. Watching Utah's money, 23andMe is back in the hands of its founder. The former CEO won a $305 million bid to get control of the bankrupt company, but it lost a lot of customers after declaring bankruptcy. The Guardian reports about 15% of its existing customers have requested to close their accounts. Kraft Heinz is done with Red 40. The company says they're removing all artificial dyes from U.S. products by the end of 2027. CNBC reports the company will also not be launching any new products containing the dye. That includes products like Jell-O, Crystal Light, and Kool-Aid. Kroger wants people to eat more ice cream. The company is giving away 92,000 pints for free. It's to celebrate the first day of summer, which is on Friday. To claim it, you just have to visit freekrogericecream.com and download the coupon. And taking a look at your money at this moment, markets have been in the red today. The Dow is now down by 355 points, sitting at 42,160. S&P 500 is down by 51, and the NASDAQ, it's down by 179 points.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Summer is upon us, and you know what your lawn wants? It wants Revive Organic Soil Treatment upon it. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn all summer. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. You'll see the difference. Revive is surefire defense against summer drought and skyrocketing water costs. Make the most of your watering with Revive Organic Soil Treatment. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
Respiratory virus season is quickly approaching, meaning we'll see more flu, COVID, and RSV in our community. The good news is vaccines are available that will help prevent these infections and keep people healthy. For flu and COVID, everyone aged 6 months and older are recommended to be vaccinated to help protect ourselves and our families against serious illness. Fall remains the best time to be vaccinated. Respiratory viruses circulate year-round, but peak late fall through winter. Your doctor can recommend which vaccines are best for you and your family.
Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
Behold, 'tis I, Queen Trustworth, sentinel for seniors amongst the Knights of Scamelot, here to give thee warning. Scams and fraud are on the rise in Utah, and seniors are especially under siege. Be wary of unsolicited texts, phone calls, and salespeople asking for personal or financial information, and never send money to someone thou hast only met online. If thou hast doubts, talk to someone thou trusteth and get educated at scams.utah.gov.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. What's happening, Ricky?
A new accident in Summit County, westbound I-80. It's about 2 to 3 miles prior to Silver Creek in Summit County. And then in the valley, we still have the final cleanup of a small accident in Murray. I-215 southbound going westbound near State Street. It's out of traffic on the shoulder. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
I keep waiting for a chance of showers to creep into the forecast, but still no chance in the next 7 days. Today's high 87 up to 102 degrees by Thursday, but then it does cool down the first of next week. Right now, 83 degrees, a lot of sunshine in downtown Salt Lake City.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
New developments this morning regarding the deadly incident at Salt Lake's No King protest.
We're hearing from the organizers of a downtown Salt Lake City protest for the first time and what they say led up to one of their security volunteers firing his weapon, which accidentally killed an innocent bystander.
The time is 1 o'clock on Tuesday, June 17th. It's midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Coming up, how these so-called peacekeepers or peacemakers were working with local law enforcement when the shooting occurred. Also this hour,
contractions hurt. Like, that's not really safe to be driving yourself 2 hours.
Rural hospitals discontinuing their labor and delivery departments. But first, our top stories. Utah Senator Mike Lee appears to have removed 2 social media posts about the shootings that killed a Minnesota lawmaker and their spouse. Lee posted a surveillance photo of the alleged Minnesota gunman, Vance Bolter, on his based Mike Lee X account with this caption: "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way." He later shared 2 photos of Bolter with the caption, "Nightmare on Wall Street." Both are now gone. Yesterday, Minnesota lawmakers reportedly approached Lee about those posts. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Prosecutors in Los Angeles have announced new charges against people accused of violence during the recent anti-ICE protests.
Much of the violence in the protests was done by people wearing masks, their faces covered, but now announcing a slate of new charges against suspects accused of assaulting police, firing fireworks at them, and setting patrol cars on fire. LA County DA Nathan Hochman says tips and video evidence are leading them to those who committed crimes.
And when they get this evidence, they're going to find these people behind these masks, behind these coverings.
Federal prosecutors are also filing charges against around 20 people accused of committing violent crimes in the protests. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Israel claims to have killed a top Iranian general in a strike. The news comes as President Trump warned residents of Tehran to evacuate. Mr. Trump left the G7 summit in Canada a day early to deal with the conflict between Israel and Iran. President Trump has recently posted that the supreme leader of Iran is an easy target, but also said the U.S. was not going to take him out for now. More from ABC's Karen Travers at the White House.
That 6th round of talks was scheduled for last weekend in Oman, and Iran canceled it after the Israeli strikes. Now, the president had said that he had told Iran to make a deal and that they need to make a deal, but he said right now he is not too much in the mood to negotiate.
At least 24 people have been killed in Israel in recent strikes and at least 220 in Iran. The Trump family's new smartphone is raising ethical and constitutional concerns. ABC's Catherine Falders has more on reaction from lawmakers.
We've heard from some Democrats who have said this is a conflict of interest. We know that the Trump family insists that it's not, for example, that there's no conflicts of interest, and that the White House says President Trump's assets are in a trust that's managed by his children. Now, this is all very interesting because in the meantime, the Senate is actually expected to vote today on a crypto bill that would directly benefit companies with ties to President Trump and his children. So I can imagine you will still be hearing a lot from lawmakers about this today.
The phone is retailing for about $500. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is down by 328 points, about 0.75%, sitting at 42,189. S&P is down by 48 points. The Nasdaq down by 170. Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
Slowdowns possible again today in that work zone for Davis County drivers southbound I-15 between Kaysville and Farmington. Celebrate freedom in Paris, Idaho. The 4th of July Chuck Wagon Breakfast and Parade. On the 5th, a 5K run, Junior Rodeo, Craft and Vendor Fair, and free concert. Visit bearlake.org for details. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hot temperatures ahead for the next few days. We'll reach 87 degrees today, 102 degrees on Thursday. Enjoy the 83 degrees right now at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Progressive knows road trips without your pet can be tough.
Hi, this is Next Stop Dog Boarding.
Hi, it's Scott again. How's Squeaks doing? You can tell if he's stressed by his eyebrows. Oh, and his breathing should sound like this.
Scott, Squeaks is exactly the same as last time you called.
Okay, let's talk in 20 to see if anything's changed.
With Progressive, your pet is covered up to $1,000 in vet bills in case of a car accident. So next time, you can take your pet with you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Coverage for dogs and cats is included with the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
The group behind the No Kings protests speaking out after the march turned deadly on the streets of Salt Lake City. Their statement specifically references the so-called peacekeepers that we have heard so much about, one of whom police say shot and killed Afa Alu, an innocent bystander attending the protest. Thanks for tuning in to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. We begin with an update from KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
The group 5051, which helped organize the rallies around the country, clarified to KSL in a statement who these peacekeepers are that police keep referring to. The group says they are security volunteers for the rally, and the volunteer who was later questioned by police is a military veteran. And they say he acted because he believed there was an imminent danger to the other protesters. Salt Lake City police say the volunteer fired 3 shots at a man who witnesses say had a rifle, but one of those shots hit Afa Alu, who later died at the hospital. 5051 says they're heartbroken for Afa and his family and are grateful none of their volunteers are facing any charges at this time. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Yesterday, Salt Lake City police issued a statement on the peacekeepers at the march, saying the volunteers self-designated themselves as peacekeepers. Police spokesperson Brent Weisberg says that the department was aware of the volunteers at the event, but didn't know much about their actual role. Police say the volunteer peacekeepers were not overseen, sanctioned, or trained by SLCPD. Like Adam Small mentioned in his report, the group 5051 says the peacekeepers were volunteers. KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson spoke with Chris Bertram, a former police chief and a current expert in police operations, investigations, and law enforcement practice. He says the relationship between police and volunteer peacekeepers can vary a lot.
The bigger the protests, you may have more peacekeepers, things, and in fact, ones that are, as I say, are self-dispatched, meaning you don't even know who they are. They're there. They believe that they have a role, but they are not necessarily, interacting with law enforcement. It's interesting because in my experience, when you've had the smaller ones, you may have an individual that comes up that is part of the organization and just says, I'm here to kind of be a liaison or a go-between for the groups. And, we want to make contact with them. We want to have communications. But I think with these bigger ones, you may not know who all of them are. Plus, there may be, again, self-designated peacekeepers in the group that you don't know of. And I think that we, especially the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of protests where, they believe that they need their safety and security. And they're not always known to law enforcement as to who they are. In addition to that, you may have times when law enforcement isn't necessarily going to acknowledge them. Law enforcement has a role, to keep the peace, to make sure the law and order is followed, that things don't get out of hand, and they're not necessarily going to endorse or necessarily acknowledge these groups, especially if they're not organized in a sense that they're licensed by, for instance, DOPL as actual security companies and such. They're just, self-designated or self-dispatched. And so law enforcement wants to be cautious because they don't want to actually acknowledge that they are, these are their security people, where there may be a liability for the police department of the city or the county.
In circumstances when designated law enforcement cause the death of an individual, there's usually some kind of protection for them since they are law enforcement. But KSL legal analyst and the host of Inside Sources, Greg Skorda, says that protection doesn't extend to volunteers. So then it comes down to something like self-defense. Skordas tells co-host Holly Richardson that that's where it gets complicated.
When we talk about self-defense or defense of others, we talk about the reasonable use of force.
Right.
What is reasonable under the circumstances?
Right. With 10,000 people, right? At a march.
And with 10,000 people behind your target, is it reasonable to use deadly force? That's a hard question. Maybe not for me personally. I think that use of force. Well, I'm not going to say my opinion because it doesn't matter. I mean, ultimately, it's going to come to the district attorney's office. Well, I will tell you, I don't think that's a reasonable use of deadly force. I don't think that's a reasonable use of self-defense. I think that's a problem. Now, I'm not going to say that the peacekeeper should be charged with murder because he didn't knowingly and intentionally cause the death of another person. But was his conduct reckless? Was his conduct negligent? Is there a lesser crime that could be charged here based on his imperfect, what I'm going to call, use of force for what he believed to be at that time a self-defense situation or defense of others?
Chris Bertram says the liability issue with all of this can make it even more complicated.
I mean, that's where there's and again, from a chief of police of a city, you want to make sure that, in those type of situations, we're not endorsing them in some cases because there may be a liability that reaches over to the city, county, state. And so that's where there's a cautious because they are acting, if they don't have an insurance policy that covers them as to what they're doing, they're not a licensed security, armed security or licensed security. There may not be, protections, i.e. from a bond or an insurance, coverage as that you're doing that officially. Does the group have an insurance bond? And does that now attach to these individuals that identify them as, peacekeepers or security personnel? And that's a complex question that attorneys and courts and other people get involved in. And so you've got to be very careful because if you are acting as a self-dispatch, as we've seen, for instance, with Kyle Ritterhouse, they're there for security, you take some type of action. There is the potential for criminal and civil liability that is significant. I've, as a police officer for 25 years, we knew what, our role was. We knew what some of our protections were. But as you get out into the private sector, those protections are gone as, with regards to your, law enforcement service. And you are now acting maybe as a private citizen or as a, somebody that owns a business, and your liabilities for that business may help cover you.
At last check, the district attorney has not filed official charges against anyone involved. A spokesperson says the investigations are still ongoing. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. When we return, we will share more about the victim in this situation, Afa Alu, and how his community is responding to his death. Stay with us.
I am down 50 pounds in 11 weeks, and this program works. The pounds melt off. It's amazing.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself.
Get in the best shape of your life with Soda Weight Loss.
Just 3 weeks in, and pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Summer is right around the corner.
Your summer body starts right here because Soda's summer savings are on.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I tried other things, came to soda, just amazing.
I started on soda 8 months ago, and I have released 80 pounds now.
Summer savings, stunning results, only at Soda Weight Loss. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Friends, family, neighbors, and complete strangers coming together to remember and honor the life of Afa Alu, the bystander killed during the No Kings March in Salt Lake City on Saturday. Roughly 100 people gathered at a makeshift memorial set up along State Street near where that shooting happened. Some who spoke at the vigil saying what happened was a tragedy.
This isn't what was supposed to happen. It was peaceful. We all knew it was. There was no issues, not even a glimpse of an issue. There wasn't even animosity, and hate me if I say this, but there wasn't even animosity with the police officers towards us. They were helping us. When I was entering Pioneer Park, I was stopped by a police officer who said, "Thank you for coming and stay safe." It was not a police officer that shot this lovely man. It was a safety vest person. It was a volunteer that had no right having a gun.
Friends who spoke remembered him as a humanist who was dedicated to equality and justice. Richard Wolfgram is one of Afa's close friends. He spoke to KSL5 TV's Sarah Martin, saying Afa has a passion for life.
He was one of those friends where we could get together and talk about artsy things, and we understood exactly what we were talking about. I don't have many friends like that. We just, had that passion and that love for art.
Wolfgram says that Afa was dedicated to his craft, his fashion, but also his family, who he loved and cherished.
Afa was a hard worker, always in his studio. There were many times that he would call and just say, "Hey, come keep me company." And I would go over there late at night, just keep him company while he's working. Afa is a big family man. Many of the times I visited him in his studio because his family lives in Layton, so he had to travel far. He would FaceTime his kids every night, if he was working late, just to tell them that he loved them, loved his children dearly, loved his wife. She was probably one of the best dressed women here in the state, always wearing, beautiful Afa Alu designs. And that's just one thing that I want people to know. This is really why he is the person that he is. And just a beautiful human being. You don't find a lot of people like that in this, today.
He says the reaction and the support from the community has been beautiful to see.
The tributes coming in and reading all those things, the GoFundMe for his family has tripled its original goal. So I think just seeing that collective love and support from the world is so healing and so beautiful. These are things that Afa would love. He would love, And so it's just beautiful to be here right now and just to feel, what everyone else is feeling.
Wolfgram says one of the things he will miss most about Afa was his generosity, his willingness to drop everything and to help others at a moment's notice.
I really just loved his generous heart, very generous with his time, his talents. People would call Afa and say, "Hey, I need a gown." He would make it, he would travel, he would fit it on them, doing what he loves to do. I love that. I love it when people have found their passion and they love doing it, and you can see that in the way Afa lived his life.
Afa was born in Samoa and had recently become a U.S. citizen. Friends say he attended the No Kings protest because he truly believed that the Constitution said we should all be equal. He leaves behind a wife and 2 young children. After the break, we'll discuss the latest developments in the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran and what President Trump is doing as a result. But first, KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
Salt Lake County freeways clear once again, but slowdowns remain on I-15 in Davis County. This is southbound I-15 by Burton Lane, going from Kaysville into Farmington. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, summer is here, and if you're still thinking you'd like to take off a few extra pounds, then I want to tell you about a great program that I have found. I love it because it's all natural. There are no medications, no injections or surgeries, nothing that you need to worry about for side effects. It's all natural, and it just uses a simple combination of foods to burn off that stored fat. I'm talking about Salt Lake City Fat Loss. I have lost more than 40 pounds with this program. It's taken away my frustration with my inability to lose weight, and they give you such great resources to help keep you accountable and to give you daily inspiration and ideas of how to be successful. Save $200 now. Just go to slcfatloss.com, or you can call them 801-450-1882. Wouldn't it be great to lose up to a pound per day? Go to slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Stylin'. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
In 6/22/25, new customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
You were listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos. This morning, President Trump saying the U.S. knows where Iran's supreme leader is hiding, and also saying he doesn't want him killed just yet. Yesterday, the president left the G7 summit early over the escalating Israel-Iran conflict. On the Start Here podcast, Brad Milkey explores a request from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the latest on what's happening in the conflict.
This was the broadcast yesterday on Iranian state TV. There's this woman newscaster on screen in a hijab speaking to the camera when all of a sudden you hear this bang. The room starts shaking. There's smoke. The newscaster leaves. It turns out that was an Israeli missile hitting Iran's key source of propaganda. In fact, Israel says it has now decimated Iran's air force so much that they claim they've established dominance in Iranian airspace. But that doesn't mean Iran can't fire missiles from the ground. And among these barrages of missiles over the last 48 hours, some have been piercing Israel's defenses. One of these missiles hit the complex around Israel's Ministry of Defense. Think about that. This is the most damage Israel has suffered since the country's creation. The point being, these do not look like a couple of countries exchanging blows. These look like two countries who will keep going until one is bombed into submission. Well, in the middle of all this, our own chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl got an exclusive interview yesterday with none other than Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We've actually published the whole interview as a bonus episode. If you just scroll down in the Start Here feed, you'll see it there. But guess what? We got John with us this morning to break it all down. So, Jonathan, first off, as you spoke to Israel's leader here, what are Netanyahu's goals here at this point, and how far is he willing to go to achieve them?
What I noticed was a bit of mission creep. Certainly the goal is to eliminate Iran's nuclear program, but he mentioned something else in this interview as an existential threat to Israel. The nuclear program, certainly number one, but number two, it's ballistic missiles. It's non-nuclear weapons, which are the ones that are raining down and hitting Israel every night now.
You saw a single bomb. It's a one-ton bomb, John, dropping on Tel Aviv and other places, killing men, women, and children. They're deliberately targeting our population.
He made it clear to me that for Israel to be safe, that both of those programs needed to be eliminated, the nuclear weapons and the non-nuclear ballistic missiles.
Which is like an entirely different ask of Iran. Disarm yourself from these other things, too.
Yeah, it's a way bigger ask. And look, I tried to ask him, pinpoint him down, how much longer is this going to take?
We're going to continue until we remove the two existential threats, the nuclear threat and the threat of 20,000 ballistic missiles that are equivalent to 2 nuclear bombs.
He said that he's got, assessments of that. He wouldn't share them with me, but he made it clear it's going to be as long as necessary to accomplish those two goals.
Well, and so then we've seen Israel obviously take the fight to Iran here in their airstrikes, bombing property and bombing, military sites and nuclear sites. They've also, though, been targeting human beings, like specific officials. Would Netanyahu at this point consider going after the Ayatollah of Iran himself, the supreme leader of Iran?
I asked him that directly. He made it also very clear in his answer that he is not ruling that out.
This regime is the cult of death. Don't make any mistakes about it. And sometimes, the forces of civilization have to act before it's too late. We did. And we're going to remove those threats against our existence one way or the other.
I pointed out that we've reported and other news organizations have reported that President Trump had rejected an Israeli plan to take out the Ayatollah in the early hours of this operation. And he didn't dispute that. But I said that what the president, as we understand it, we've been told the president thought that an assassination of the Ayatollah would escalate the war. Are you concerned that that would be true? And he said, no. My understanding is his concern is that this would escalate the conflict beyond where it is already.
It's not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict. We've had half a century of conflict spread by this regime.
In other words, regime change is a way to end this war.
Is de-escalation possible after all of this? Brad Milkey and Jonathan Karl discuss whether or not any additional peace talks will be successful.
The Wall Street Journal yesterday afternoon reported that the Iranians have sent urgent messages to both the Israelis and to the United States that they would like to see the hostilities stop and nuclear talks resume. So I asked Netanyahu about that, and he was adamant that he doesn't want any part of so-called nuclear talks or peace talks with Iran right now.
They want to continue stringing us along, but, there's a limit, because if we don't act now, there won't be a 13th hour. So we have to act.
He says that the Iranians want fake talks so they can just delay and they can continue to develop their nuclear weapons.
Where does that put the U.S. then? Because President Trump, you'd think, does not want a full-blown escalating war in the Middle East between these countries, especially a war between two countries where he's going to be expected to take sides with one of them.
President Trump has been saying over and over again, he said this before the war started, he's said it since the Israeli bombs have started to drop. He said that there needs to be peace between Iran and Israel. He's even predicted it's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon.
I would say that this is the single most important period in the history of Iran, which is a long history.
This is the opportunity to have a nuclear deal and to bring peace. I asked Netanyahu point blank, if Donald Trump asked you to stop your military campaign so that peace talks, nuclear talks could resume, would you do it? And again, he did not answer that question except to go on to say that he did not think that there was any chance of having real productive nuclear talks with Iran, that they've had the opportunity to do that over the last 2 months, really over the last 20 years, and that they have never done it. And now this is the chance, and what the world needs to do is to take out the nuclear program by force.
It sounded like he was really trying to sell this to President Trump.
He is. And Brad, he used Trump's own language on this.
You want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Today it's Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York. I understand America first. I don't understand America dead.
He said that's what the Iranians want. They chant death to America. It is in America's interest as well as in Israel's interest, Netanyahu was arguing, to take out Iran's nuclear program.
Yeah, and speaking of American interest, an updated travel advisory on Monday, the State Department has now classified all of Israel and the West Bank as level 4 do not travel. That's its highest advisory zone. That's what they assign to war zones.
Brad Milkey with ABC's Jonathan Karl on the Start Here podcast. It's 1:30, midday at KSL News Radio. Hello, I'm Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we are watching this hour. Preparing for a potential explosion at one of Utah's universities. OB/GYN services disappearing at rural hospitals in the West. And KSL traffic. Ricky?
We had an earlier accident in Summit County westbound I-80 about 2 to 3 miles prior to Silver Summit. It really hasn't caused any delay, and it's in the final cleanup stages. Maria?
Thanks, Ricky. KSL's top local stories coming up in 1 minute, but first, let's get the latest from ABC News.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Days of missile strikes between Israel and Iran continue to escalate, and now President Trump is calling for Iran's unconditional surrender of its nuclear program. A Republican has introduced a measure to limit U.S. involvement in Iran. GOP Senator John Thune is reacting.
Well, I think right now the president's within his authorities. He obviously has a lot of authority as commander-in-chief to respond to incidents that happen around the world. Obviously, we have a lot of military installations, bases, military personnel in the region right now. And so I think he's perfectly within his right to do what he's done so far.
A 3-judge panel in appeals court is hearing arguments on President Trump's deployment of California National Guard to help deal with unrest in Los Angeles. A lower court last week ordered control of state troops to be returned to California's governor. And retail sales slumped in May, a sign consumers are pulling back on spending. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
In local news, a man in Carbon County is facing multiple felonies after police say he busted out of a police truck using his head. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
The probable cause statement reads kind of like a movie script. The suspect, he was picked up, accused of being intoxicated in a park in East Carbon. But once in the back of that truck, the officer wrote that William Weber, he tried kicking out the cage, and then he smashed through the back window using his head. He got out, ran to a UTV, stole that, and police say he drove through a fence and got away.
The Carbon County Sheriff's Office started a search, and the suspect was found 5 hours later. A fenced-in patio or balcony is not a secure place to store your scooter or bike. That's the message from BYU police, who say they have responded to at least 2 reports of electric scooters being stolen from student housing balconies. In both cases, the scooters were unlocked. Senator Mike Lee appears to have removed 2 social media posts that got strong reactions online. The posts appeared to make light of the deadly shootings of a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband. ABC reporters tried to speak with Mike Lee on his way out of Congress yesterday.
Do you stand by the post that you made on X?
The senator did not make eye contact with the reporters and did not say anything. KSL asked his office for comment but has not heard back. Safety leaders at Utah Valley University ran a bomb simulation on campus today to help first responders know how to handle a real-life explosion. Emergency responders from out the county even treated kids posing as victims with stage-quality makeup. Jeff Long is the police chief at UVU.
That's invaluable. I mean, we don't get to do this very often, so anytime that we do, it's a great way to work out the bugs. You know, it's you practice in anything you do in life, right, is paramount, and this is no exception.
Long says they've been very focused on active shooter training in recent years, but he says bomb threats are on the rise too, and they want to be prepared if a threat turns out to be real. 2 men were found unconscious in Park City in what police think was a carbon monoxide poisoning. The Park Record reports it happened yesterday afternoon at the Treasure Mountain Inn. The 2 men were reportedly in a stairwell in the parking garage, sanding concrete using equipment powered by a generator. The building was evacuated after high levels of carbon monoxide were found in the garage and other locations of the building. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow down by 307 points, sitting at 42,208. S&P is down by 45. The NASDAQ down by 156 points. Traffic and weather is brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
Salt Lake City PD has wrapped up a crash at 5th South and 4th West. Slow down southbound I-15 going between the Kaysville Ponds down to Lagoon in Farmington, where we've had road work. Don't miss the 91st annual Ute Stampede Rodeo with Extreme Bulls on July 9th through 12th. Athletes and explosive entertainment combined with music, food, and multiple days of family fun. Visit UtestampedeRodeo.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
It doesn't look like we'll get a break from the high temperatures for the next few days. Today's high 87 up to 102 on Thursday. Next week, though, it looks like those temperatures will cool down. The high on Sunday about 76 degrees. Right now, 83 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Repair or replace your roof now during S&S Roofing's huge spring sale. 12 months interest-free financing. The highest value roofing job in Utah. Dial pound 250 and then say S&S Roofing.
It all started with a commitment to comfort. Gillette Heating and Air is proud to be Utah County's go-to team for expert HVAC and plumbing solutions. Need a repair, upgrade, or seasonal tune-up? Don't let cost hold you back. With 0% financing available, it's easy to get the work done now and pay later. Plus, save $100 on any repair over $500 and keep your system running strong with a professional tune-up before the heat hits. Visit GilletteHVAC.com or call 385-GET-COOL to book today. Homegrown service pros, financing made simple, comfort made easy.
Carrier. Turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized dealer.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Behold, 'tis I, Queen Trustworth, sentinel for seniors amongst the Knights of Scamelot, here to give thee warning. Scams and fraud are on the rise in Utah, and seniors are especially under siege. Be wary of unsolicited texts, phone calls, and salespeople asking for personal or financial information, and never send money to someone thou hast only met online. If thou hast doubts, talk to someone thou trusteth and get educated at scams.utah.gov.
You are listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Mail-in ballots, they've been quite a controversial form of voting nationwide. Utah is not excluded from this. A new poll from the Deseret News and the Hinckley Institute of Politics finds that roughly 50% of Utahns prefer the universal mail-in voting system, which is currently being phased out. That's due to a bill passed this last legislative session that will now require voters to opt in to receive a mail-in ballot. Lawmakers said that they wanted to balance convenience with election security. Joining me now to talk a bit more about the poll and its potential ramifications is Jason Perry, director of the University of Utah's Hinckley Institute of Politics. Jason, now thanks for joining me. Talk to me about these numbers. Walk us through the numbers. It seems like Utahns are pretty evenly split on this idea of universal mail-in voting.
You're exactly right. And the question went to this House Bill 300, which requires voters to opt in to receive their mail-in ballots instead of what happens right now, which is you just automatically receive them. And it's very interesting because we wanted to see where voters are. And as you rightly said, there's a lot of different sentiment around the country and even here in Utah. But here's what's so interesting about it. First, 50% of Utahns prefer to get their ballot automatically, the current system. 30% prefer to opt in. I'll tell you a couple of takeaways from this, but what's interesting is that's 80% of Utahns like getting the mail-in ballots. That's an important place to start. Only 11% of Utahns said they did not want to have vote by mail. So we start with a lot of consensus about people wanting to get their ballots. The question is, will you want them automatically or if you have to opt in?
So does it matter which political side you're on as to how you decided you felt about this?
Well, that's definitely where it starts to break down. So if you start with the idea that Utahns want the mail-in ballots, which is a good place, it does break down by party. It goes down to 42% of Republicans want to receive the ballot automatically, and 35% of Republicans prefer to opt in. That's really where you see the very interesting political lens that ballots are looked at through, is, it's through the Republicans. The Democrats largely want to receive them automatically. That's 67%. Independents was 56% want to receive them automatically. But the question really comes down to those Republicans, and it is split.
And did we lose Jason? Looks like we may have lost him.
I'm still here with you.
There we go. Okay. So your biggest takeaway?
So the biggest takeaway is first, as legislators look at this bill in the future, they do want to keep the voters do want them to keep these ballots coming. And I think there may be tweaks going on back and forth as we try to really find the sweet spot between voters feeling like their votes are counted properly and fairly and making it easy and convenient. Time will tell. If this lowers participation, I think people are going to have to reevaluate.
Okay, so I'm just wondering how this will change election security, whether you opt in or not. How does that really change it, and why do people feel like if they opt in, it'll be more secure?
Well, I think the Republicans are looking at this saying that, having some kind of requirement that you opt in either when you're registering to vote or you're renewing your driver's license or you're going to the Lieutenant Governor's website, that adds another layer of protection because you have to affirmatively do something. I think that's the question that Republicans were looking at this last legislative session. We'll see if that's true or not. And mostly what I'm looking for to see if there is a dramatic impact one way or another on participation. That really is the key question. Do you have safety and security, and do you have participation? That is the balance.
Okay, and it's going to be how long before we know that?
It's going to be quite a while. That's the thing, is, we'll just see how this progresses and how it changes. But it seems like Utahns are looking at this question a little differently than we're seeing across the country, where people are saying, let's get rid of those mail-in ballots altogether, just have people come in. And our legislature started with some of those questions, but where they ended up seems to acknowledge where Utahns are, is they want to participate with mail-in ballots.
Before I let you go, has there been a lot of data that shows that there has been a real problem with election security in the state?
Well, there really hasn't been here in Utah. There are lots of allegations from time to time. There's, I think in the legislative audit that came out in October, it was about 4% of signatures may have been incorrectly counted, but it's a very small amount. No clear thing has happened to say that the votes are not being counted properly or there is fraud here in the state of Utah.
Okay, appreciate your time. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Maria.
Jason Perry is the director of the University of Utah's Hinckley Institute of Politics, and we appreciate him spending a few minutes with us today. Midday with Maria Shilaos continues in just 60 seconds.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
A growing number of mothers across rural America are being left with limited options as smaller hospitals and clinics close their labor and delivery units. It's something that's becoming even more of a problem with our neighbors to the east in Wyoming. KSL 5 TV's Shelby Lofton says these areas are being called maternity care deserts.
Women have been having babies since the dawn of time.
Mom Alyssa Vasey had visions of soft snuggles and sweet sibling introductions following the birth of her third child. Halfway through her pregnancy, she found out from a Facebook post that her plan to deliver at Evanston Regional Hospital was no longer possible. That hospital discontinued labor and delivery services in December.
I cried for like 3 days because I was just so sad. I love my OB.
Vasey and her husband considered their options and looked into Utah hospitals. But their baby was due in March when dangerous, wintry conditions aren't out of the question.
Contractions hurt. Like, that's not really safe to be driving yourself 2 hours.
Not wanting to risk laboring on the interstate, she's scheduled to be induced at a hospital in Rock Springs, an hour and 20-minute drive from her home.
Other women have talked about renting Airbnbs in Utah, so they're close. And then my other friend, she had her baby in the ambulance.
We've seen 4 birthing facilities closing in the last dozen years.
Honor Hill studies labor and delivery trends nationwide for March of Dimes. They call these maternity care deserts, and that desert is growing in Wyoming.
We know that many counties, about 11, are lacking a practicing OBGYN.
Many women who would have delivered their babies here in Rawlins are traveling to places like Laramie to have their baby.
This hospital has really seen some financial struggles.
Eric Boley, president of the Wyoming Hospital Association, took us inside Memorial Hospital of Carbon County in Rawlins. He told us the business of being born isn't good business, partly because of a declining birth rate.
But if you're only delivering 20 or 30 babies a year, but you have that overhead that's always in place and keeping the training and everything, it becomes really problematic.
And partly because of how many families pay for deliveries.
There's not a lot of money made because a majority of the babies in our state are born on Medicaid.
Another challenge, the state's abortion laws have made recruitment and retention of doctors and nurses more difficult.
There's a lot of concern about the fact that they could be found guilty of violating that new law.
What do you say to the women who are contracting in a car and feel like they have to drive miles and miles and miles because they don't have an OBGYN nearby?
Well, the flippant answer would be don't push, but it's tough, and it's why we're working on it.
He says Wyoming leaders are looking at what other states are doing for answers. March of Dimes proposes 4 solutions.
We very much encourage midwifery care.
Bully says state leaders are working on expanding their scope of practice.
We also focus on expanding access to accredited and licensed birth centers.
Wyoming is also examining how Alaska mothers are moved closer to delivery locations as due dates arrive. And finally, addressing the costs.
They don't make money off of us, so we don't matter.
Moms looking to hospitals in Utah have another financial concern.
Utah doesn't accept Wyoming Medicaid.
Vasey fears the obstacles moms like her face will drive families out of Wyoming.
If you're in the stage where you're going to have a whole family, why would you even start off here?
Intermountain Health has started a new program in Evanston helping to provide care for new and expectant moms. More opportunities for all you bird lovers out there. I'll tell you about a new wildlife center in just a few minutes. But first, it's KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
It is a crash-free commute on the Valley freeways and main secondaries, but not delay-free. It's where we have that stretch of slowing southbound I-15 between the Kaysville Ponds and Lagoon in Farmington, right by Burton Lane. That's where you'll need a few extra minutes to get through that stretch. Jordan Valley Water says we're using about 12% more water than last year, even though we don't need to. Do your part. Water one day less each week. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Home sellers, do not lose money selling your home the old way. Make more money when you sell your home with a Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Save Right Realtor team at Realty Path. Average interest rates are in the mid to high sixes, but Save Right Realtors will market your home with a fixed rate as low as 4.75%. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate gives buyers monthly payments that are hundreds less than comparable homes. When your home is much more affordable, you get a larger pool of potential buyers who can buy your home. When buyers compare homes and see your home is hundreds less per month, you'll get a quicker offer and a higher sale price. Do not lose money selling your home the old way. Sell faster and make more money. Sell with Save Right. Sell with the Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
Visit the contest page on KSLNewsRadio.com. This week, you can win tickets to Western Stampede. Don't miss the West Jordan Stampede and Rodeo celebrating 70 years, July 3rd through the 5th. Or win tickets to Barry Manilow, coming to the Maverick Center for the last time on July 14th. Plus, win free tickets to Lagoon or an upcoming Real Salt Lake home match. Text the word contest to 57500 or go to KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
Ooh, What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
KSL's Amanda Dixon will be at the Trucordia Insurance Building in Linden tomorrow at 11 to help celebrate some $6 billion news. Trucordia is one of the biggest companies in Utah and getting bigger.
Regardless of how old your air conditioner is, there are a few things you can do to help it last as many summers as possible. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and like so many things in our life, it's easy to take our air conditioner for granted. If you keep a clean filter, rinse the outdoor unit off every once in a while, and have it serviced once a summer, you can reduce your risk of unexpected breakdowns. But eventually it will break down. And if someone tells you that your only option is to replace it, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. You could save thousands of dollars repairing it instead of replacing it. Any Hour rarely comes across an air conditioner that just can't be repaired. That doesn't mean you won't choose to replace it anyway, but being told you don't have options, that's not cool. So if you want honest answers and straightforward options, give Any Hour Services a call. And remember, every week this summer, Any Hour Services is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer as part of our Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. No purchase is necessary. You can see official rules or schedule your service at anyhour.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. It is time for our annual spring clearance sale at Arctic Spas. Tons of hot tubs, swim spas, all-weather pools, saunas, and cold tubs all on sale at up to $7,500 off. Yes, up to $7,500 off. Just in time for the summer fun to begin. Plus, we have a few models left over from last year, like an Arctic Spa Polaris, a 7-foot by 7-foot with 40 massaging jets, 2 pumps, ozone water purification, UV water purification, multicolored colored LED lights, and a waterfall, now discounted to $89.95. Swim spas starting out at $19.95. This brings a pool to your backyard all year long, but especially for the family fun this summer. Comfort and convenience is on sale with our automated saltwater system. Or save even more with almost new refurbished Arctic spas from years past. Start out online at arcticspasutah.com to pick out your favorite spa. Then stop by one of our 3 Arctic Spa stores covering all of Utah, Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
This is Midday with Maria Shilaos. It's the season of the orange construction cone, and now construction and lane closures are coming to I-80, affecting people traveling both east and west from Salt Lake City. Kyler Sharp is a communications manager for UDOT's Region 2. He tells KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis more about a project that just began in Tooele County.
Currently, right now, we have a road widening project on SR 36 and I-80. So last year we did the southbound portion, and hopefully that should wrap up in June. And this is just kind of a continuation of that project. We've just now flipped it to go northbound. So it looks like it'll start, or it started yesterday, I believe, and it's going to go from SR 36 between I-80 and Stansbury Parkway in Tooele. So what this project is doing is to, help reduce congestion a little bit.
Sharp says crews are adding lanes to help with near daily congestion in that area.
So it's going from Stansbury Park to I-80, and I believe, so Stansbury up north to that on-ramp to I-80, we are widening to 3 lanes. And then I believe the auxiliary lane will start on the on-ramp and go towards the 201.
Additional construction is taking place on I-80 in Summit County. That construction goes from just west of Kimball Junction to just east of the turnoff to U.S. Route 40. Now, while construction is happening at night, officials say that there will be lane closures happening during the day, causing some delays. This project will finish up in the fall. In the end, Sharp says,
it's summer, so anytime you see road work happening on state roadways, just make sure you reduce your speed, use caution, and ultimately we just want to get you going to where you want to get to safely.
You can get more information on the projects at udot.utah.gov. Taking a look at some other local news, bird lovers, listen up. There's a new viewing platform and trail being unveiled by the Eccles Wildlife Education Center at Farmington Bay.
Our viewing platform is a great spot to look at our great blue heron rookery. You can get a really good view of it from there. And we also have some spotting scopes that sit permanently like outside on the platform, and they're really cool to use and look out at the Farmington Bay waterfowl management area. You can see a lot of waterfowl from there, shorebirds, and a lot of different areas with water that are going to have birds in them throughout the year. And then the paths in between there in our buildings are really nice to walk on. That's where you can learn about the history of the area and Bob Hassenyeger's legacy. But it also connects our buildings and kind of allows you to walk through some wetland habitat, which is really nice. Before, I think people, they're really courteous and didn't want to go off trail, but this area is meant to be walked on. So it's really nice and inviting now, which is great.
Education coordinator Ashley Kajowski says the Great Salt Lake is like an oasis for traveling birds, giving them a place to fuel up before they finish their migration.
It really depends on the time of year of what birds you're going to see when you come here. Obviously, the spring and the fall are great times to come, like April and May, and then August and September during spring and fall migration. You're going to see a lot of different species of waterfowl along with shorebirds. Great Salt Lake is an oasis in the middle of the desert, and these migratory birds are coming from South America, Mexico, Southern California, and they're either flying north all the way up to Alaska, or maybe they're coming back from up north and going south. And Great Salt Lake and its wetlands sit at just like this perfect stopover spot where they can fuel up to finish their migrations. So those times of year are amazing out here. But we can also, you can come out here in the wintertime and see a lot of different variety of raptors. It's a great place to come see bald eagles And northern harriers are a type of hawk. You'll always see them out here in the winter. And then in the summertime, we still have a lot to see, swallows, pelicans, and still you can see a variety of nesting birds. We have waterfowl and shorebirds out here still too right now.
And she says the Wildlife Center also has much more to offer.
We have a 1.6-mile nature trail loop that consists of a trail and then also a really long boardwalk that you can actually walk through the ponds. And it's a really cool immersive experience where you can go and see a variety of different wildlife really easily right out of the parking lot. And then I want to add too that this new trail system with the viewing platforms ADA accessible, so you don't have to go far. You can just go down this ramp from the parking lot, and it's all packed down really nice and very accessible. We also have a lot of different programs, events, and workshops that we hold here. So if you're looking to learn more about birds, this is a great place to come. We offer a monthly birding walk called Birding with Buddies, the last Wednesday of every month. And each time we go over a different bird species and take you on a trail walk. We also have a program every Tuesday at 3 called Tales and Trails, which is like for families and children. We'll read them a book, take them outside. They can learn about the wetlands. And then we also host workshops and events throughout the year where you can learn about identifying birds, maybe waterfowl hunting if you like that. And we'll do Halloween, some viewing events like Great Blue Heron viewing event. So if you go on the Division of Wildlife's website and go to education, you can find our page. We'll have a calendar that will tell you what's going on. And then also we have a Facebook page where we advertise our workshops and events too.
And again, you can find these editions at the Farmington Bay Waterfowl Management Area. In the next hour of Midday, we'll take a look at how a lack of sleep might be contributing to higher rates of depression. We'll also take a look at all the day's latest stories, as well as take a look at what's happening in the situation between Israel and Iran. That's all coming up. Stay with us right here on Midday.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Minnesota Senator Tina Smith telling CNN about Senator Mike Lee's now deleted posts on X on the deadly shooting of 2 lawmakers.
I wanted him to know about the consequence of his words. And I went to him and I said, your message on social media showed the image of the man who killed my friend.
The time is 2 o'clock on Tuesday, June 17th. It's Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Coming up, more on the lack of response from Senator Lee and the latest on the investigation as a whole. Also this hour,
people can know if a dust storm is occurring, know if it's occurring in their community.
New air quality monitors to help people know what's in the dust around the Great Salt Lake. But first, our top stories. Our top national story from ABC News. President Trump posted about Iran's supreme leader on social media as strikes between Israel and Iran continue.
President Trump writes in a new social media post Tuesday afternoon that the U.S. knows where Iran's supreme leader is hiding and adds, quote, "He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now." The message coming after 2 U.S. officials told ABC News Sunday that the president rejected an Israeli plan in recent days to kill Ayatollah Khamenei. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told ABC Monday that Israel won't rule out an attempt to assassinate him. President Trump in his post Tuesday says the U.S. does not want to see missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers, adding, quote, "Our patience is wearing thin." Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune said that President Trump is currently acting appropriately amid the escalating military crisis between Iran and Israel.
This is something that's happened in the last few days. I think the president is perfectly within his authority in the steps that he has taken. Clearly, if this thing were to extend for some period of time, there could be a more fulsome discussion about what the role of Congress should be.
Thune avoided saying whether he would introduce a resolution that seeks to prevent the U.S. from getting involved in a military conflict with Iran without congressional approval. Other national stories KSL is following. In Los Angeles, prosecutors have announced new charges against those accused of violence during recent anti-ICE protests. LA County DA Nathan Hochman says tips and video evidence are leading them to those who committed the crimes. This includes things like assaulting police, firing fireworks at them, and setting patrol cars on fire. Taking a look at your money at the close, the Dow down by nearly 300 points, sitting at 42,215. S&P 500 down by 50. The NASDAQ down by nearly a full percent, down 180 points. Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
Looks like a new accident in Davis County. This is northbound I-15 near 4th North, 5th West Bountiful. It's on the left, but causing some backups in the area. Take UTA instead of driving and actually enjoy your ride. Try UTA to see the difference. Plan your trip at rideuta.com or on the Transit app. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A lot of sunshine and climbing temperatures over the next couple of days. Today's high 87, 93 tomorrow. The peak at 102 degrees on Thursday before those temperatures start to drop. 85 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
Attention passengers, we've reached 10,000 feet and internet is now available for purchase.
I just paid hundreds for this flight, and you can't even throw in internet? I'll just take the free pretzels.
Sorry, but I do have snack boxes for sale.
I'm just gonna sleep.
In that case, we are selling pillows and blankets as well.
I'll just breathe. That's free, right?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
When you crash your car, you get it fixed. When your computer crashes, you get a new one. But what will you do if you've been saving in a 401k or an IRA and the market crashes? If you're in your 30s or 40s, you'll be just fine. But if you're in or near retirement, you could be in trouble. Mike Stevens and his team at Capital Wealth Advisors are here to help. They can run a risk analysis to see if you're too heavily invested in the market. Don't let the ups and downs of Wall Street control you or your retirement dreams. Call 801-210-5500 today to schedule your risk analysis with Mike Stevens and the team at Capital Wealth Advisors. That's 801-210-5500. Crashes happen. Question is, are you ready? Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Two social media posts from Senator Mike Lee drawing fire this week from folks on both sides of the political aisle because it appeared that they were making light of the shootings of two state lawmakers in Minnesota. Thanks for tuning in to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more on that story.
All the backlash stems from two posts made on Senator Lee's Based Mike Lee X account. The first post shows a surveillance photo of the man accused of pulling the trigger in those Minnesota shootings, Vance Bolter, in a mask and outfit with the caption, quote, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way." Lee later shared the same photo and a headshot of Bolter side by side with the caption, quote, "Nightmare on Wall Street," which appears to reference Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. ABC reporters tried to speak with Mike Lee yesterday after the posts went online.
Do you stand by the post that you made on X?
The video shows Lee walked away without responding to them. I've also reached out to Senator Lee's office for comment, but have not heard back. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
As of late this morning, those social media posts are no longer online, but Deseret News congressional correspondent Cami Mondo walked Inside Sources host Holly Richardson through what was said.
He called the shooter a Marxist, basically saying that was the reason for these murders, without any evidence, without any knowledge of what the shooter's motivation might have been. And so that kind of sparked some backlash, especially from the senators from Minnesota, who kind of said, please don't use, these murders, these tragic times to kind of poke fun at a very serious issue.
Yeah, can you give us just an idea of what, for example, Senator Tina Smith said to him?
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday, while we were waiting for senators to come to the Senate in the evening, Tina Smith basically wasn't commenting to anyone in the hallways, saying that she was looking for Mike Lee. After she had a conversation, she basically said that she approached him, told him that what he did was not okay, it was not funny. She kind of said that he seemed surprised, actually, to be confronted, that he wasn't expecting it. But he didn't necessarily apologize or really have a reason for why he posted. But she was very clearly upset about the whole situation.
Minnesota Senator Tina Smith telling CNN that the post hurt on a personal level. She spoke to Senator Lee about the post earlier.
Well, I wanted Senator Lee, who, honestly, I don't have much. I don't know him well. We have not dealt with each other that much. I wanted him to know about the consequence of his words, and I went to him and I said, your message on social media showed the image of the man who killed my friend, potentially minutes before that happened, and your message was, this is what happens. You need to take responsibility and accountability for what you were saying and doing out there in the social media world. And I wanted him to hear that from me directly, and not to for me to tweet out at him. I think that is important, that he understands, again, the consequence of what the impact that his words have on people who are going through so much pain and trauma. This is not a joke. And he needs to understand over 7 million people dialed into his message on social media. He has a powerful platform. He should not be using it to spread misinformation and to basically make a joke of the murder of people, of public servants.
KSL has reached out to the senator's office for comment. He has not yet responded, but again, those posts are no longer online. Stay with us. We'll be back with more on the investigation into those deadly shootings in just 60 seconds.
I am down 50 pounds in 11 weeks, and this program works. The pounds melt off. It's amazing.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself.
Get in the best shape of your life with Soda Weight Loss.
Just 3 weeks in, and pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Summer is right around the corner.
Your summer body starts right here because Soda's summer savings are on.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I tried other things, came to soda, just amazing.
I started on soda 8 months ago, and I have released 80 pounds now.
Summer savings, stunning results, only at Soda Weight Loss. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Before the break, I told you about a few social media posts Senator Mike Lee posted about the deadly shooting of 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses. The alleged shooter captured Sunday night. Start Here podcast host Brad Mielke discusses the charges and the latest developments in the case with ABC's Alex Mallon.
The entire state of Minnesota breathed a sigh of relief late Sunday night when police announced they had arrested the man suspected of shooting a pair of Democratic state lawmakers along with their spouses. Remember, this was a manhunt that spread out across multiple counties, in which a weekend of protests were canceled. Some residents were even told not to open their door for law enforcement without checking with 911 for fear the person outside could be a murderer posing as a cop.
When he got to the culvert, he squatted. And so I was like, that's Dad, that's somebody.
Eventually, a woman described to our affiliate, KSTP, seeing a figure in a field who police later surrounded and arrested.
We have an arrest warrant. Take a look around. You are surrounded.
Well, yesterday, with the suspect behind bars, authorities announced they had filed charges and claimed the man had tried to kill even more people that night than previously known.
Political assassinations are rare. They strike at the very core of our democracy. But the details of Belter's crime are even worse.
ABC's Alex Mallon covers the Justice Department. He joins us now. Alex, can you walk us through the charges against Vance Belter?
Yeah, so Brad, he's facing separate federal and state charges. The state charges are 4 counts of murder in the second degree. The charging documents say that he murdered with intent, but it was not premeditated. We expect, Brad, that these are just what we call holding charges, essentially what prosecutors use to get somebody detained, arrested, and get them before a judge. And we expect that they will likely add to those state charges. On the federal side,
the U.S. Attorney's Office filed a complaint bringing an array of federal charges against Vance Luther Belter.
Federal prosecutors brought 6 counts involving stalking, use of a firearm to murder, and other firearms-related violations. Again, we expect that they could add additional charges. We heard from Attorney General Pam Bondi and other officials yesterday saying that they intend to prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. And it's also a real question whether they intend, if he's convicted, to seek the death penalty as he would be eligible under some of these federal statutes that they charged him with, Brad.
Well, and we talked yesterday about the timeline here, about how he allegedly shoots one couple, then another, and cops are at that second household trying to apprehend him. Well, now law enforcement says those weren't even necessarily his only visits of the night to lawmakers' homes in the area, and that he allegedly made these visits between the 2 shootings. So where do they claim he went?
Yeah, so Brad, actually in this complaint that was unsealed yesterday, authorities say he actually made 2 more stops. And all of this took place within a remarkably slim amount of time. Again, just showing how federal investigators appear to believe that he planned this far in advance of those horrible attacks.
Belter wore a black tactical vest and body armor. He carried a flashlight and a Beretta 9mm handgun. He also wore a hyper-realistic silicone mask.
According to the complaint, Brad, he arrived at Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman's residence around 2 a.m.
Belter knocked on Senator Hoffman's front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police, open the door."
And according to these charges, he was taped on a doorbell camera engaging with the Hoffmans.
When Belter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop."
And then he tried to force himself, according to the complaint, in the door, saying this is a robbery.
When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Belter out and stop him from entering his home, Belter shot him repeatedly. Belter then shot Miss Hoffman repeatedly. Belter fled the scene, and the Hoffman's daughter called 911.
And then, Brad, he allegedly made his way to another unnamed lawmaker's residence who actually was on vacation and similarly knocked on the door, tried to identify himself as police, but luckily those people were not home.
Belter then traveled to the home of a Minnesota state senator who lived in New Hope, Minnesota.
According to the complaint, Brad, he then made his way to a third lawmaker's residence, again, unnamed by prosecutors in this complaint. And when he was there, he actually was in his vehicle when police who learned of the previous shooting were conducting a wellness check on that lawmaker's residence.
The New Hope police officer pulled up next to Belter in his car, rolled down her window, and attempted to speak with him. Belter did not respond. According to the officer, he just sat there and stared straight ahead.
And then they went to go check on the residence, and he drove away. That's when, Brad, he allegedly made his way to State Representative Melissa Hortman's home and arrived at around 3:30 a.m.
He parked in the driveway and left the emergency lights on his SUV flashing, as if he was a police officer.
Authorities say they saw him shooting into the home and entering the home where he fatally shot Hortman and her husband. And according to the complaint, he ran away and allegedly ditched his vehicle at the house.
They later searched Belter's car, where they found 5 more firearms, including assault-style rifles and a large quantity of ammunition. Belter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials.
In the wake of those deadly attacks on state lawmakers in Minnesota, U.S. senators this morning received a briefing from the Capitol Police about their own security. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
A list found in the vehicle of Minnesota murder suspect Vance Bolter included the names of politicians well beyond Minnesota, including Michigan Congresswoman Debbie Dingell.
They called and said the FBI that my name had been on the list.
Some politicians named in the list have canceled public appearances, but Dingell says,
"I'm going to keep fighting for the people that I represent."
Against the advice of her staff, she went ahead with a town hall meeting last night in her district. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
We will continue to watch this case as it unfolds as we learn more about the alleged shooter. In just a few minutes, we'll take a look at a new sleep study that looks at the connection between a lack of sleep and depression. But first, it's KSL Traffic brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
We do have a crash northbound I-15 near 4th North 5th West Bountiful. It's being moved to the left shoulder, and a vehicle fire blocking a right lane. This is on that ramp from eastbound I-80 to go southbound on I-215's East Belt. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
1 in 4 children in Davis County is at risk of going hungry.
Over the weekend, many kids who depend on school meals during the week lose access to regular meals.
Let's make a difference. Let's fight childhood hunger, one pantry pack at a time.
Join Young Caring for Our Young and the Young Automotive Group along with the Bountiful Food Pantry, June 21st at Bountiful City Park from 8 a.m. to noon to donate and assemble pantry packs for our children who face hunger over the weekends.
Learn about the deep impact of food insecurity and discover ways to help all year with this hands-on volunteer experience perfect for families, groups, or individuals.
Feel the warmth of giving oatmeal packets, granola bars, fruit snacks, fruit pouches, individual cracker packets, or even cash donations that directly go towards purchasing food for pantry packs.
Let's fight childhood hunger together. Saturday, June 21st at Bountiful City Park, 8 a.m. to noon.
Learn more at bountifulfoodpantry.org.
And join Ton and me for the KSL Radio Greenhouse Show. We will be there for pantry packs for kids this Saturday at Bountiful City Park. Help fight childhood hunger. It's 8 to noon. Volunteer, donate, and make a difference.
Spring cleaning season is wrapping up, but it's not too late to give your carpets the ultimate refresh. Whether it's dirt from foot traffic, pet stains, or just the wear and tear of everyday life, Zero-Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning can bring your floors back to life. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $129 when you mention KSL. Zero-Res uses a patented cleaning process with no soaps, no harsh chemicals, and no residue, so your carpets dry faster and stay cleaner longer. That means a healthier home for your family, pets, and guests. Don't wait until the craziness of summer is in full swing. Make your home feel fresh, clean, and truly ready for the season ahead. And get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $129 when you mention KSL. Call Zero-Res or schedule online at zerores.com to get your home cleaned the right way. Zerores.com.
It's Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I've got something important to talk to you about, your 401k. If you have changed jobs, there are 2 very important considerations. You don't want to leave your 401k behind, and you don't want to roll it over into your new company plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. 401ks will often have limited investments or age-based options. Since companies have to make choices to suit all employees, they may not be suited to you, which could cost you fees and money. When you roll over your 401k into an IRA, you not only keep your money growing tax deferred, but you also gain access to a world of investment options specifically designed for you. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have helped thousands, and we can do the same for you. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
This is Midday with Maria Shilaos. President Trump has reversed his decision on ICE raids at farms, hotels, and restaurants. News Nation's Jorge Ventura reports.
Just a few days ago, President Trump directed ICE to pause ICE raids at certain immigration workplaces and hospitalities and industries. And now President Trump has decided to step back and reverse that decision, even shocking some of his supporters. Now, according to the Department of Homeland Security, they have now made a phone call to ICE and said those raids are back on. Now the Trump administration is reportedly walking back that original decision to pause those ICE raids in hotels, farms, and restaurants. It was reported that President Trump was expressing concern about how aggressive that enforcement was in impacting those workforces. Now, just last week, President Trump said that business owners in farming and hospitality were warning that immigration raids were taking away longtime workers and that they were difficult to replace. He did hint at changes to enforcement. Now, everything has shifted. Even some of Trump's biggest supporters were surprised by the original announcement to pause those ICE raids for certain industries. Now, Meriwether Farms from Wyoming, the owners, Trump supporters, took to X to say, quote, just wanted to reiterate, we only hire U.S. citizens on our farm and in our meat packing plant. Also adding, quote, most small operations like ours rely on family members and hire locals or on the rare occasion use legal and seasonal visa programs. The recent order released by the Department of Homeland Security regarding ICE raids will only benefit big packers and big agriculture who exploit illegal labor. And this decision to reverse the original plan to pause those ICE raids is coming as White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller has pressured ICE leadership to make at least 3,000 daily arrests. And it does look like with this new decision by the President Trump that those work sites will once again be targeted. This expansion by ICE is already underway in key city and states. Now, in order for ICE to have enough space for the new 10,000 detention beds, they are reopening shuttered prisons in states like Kansas, New Jersey, California, and here in Texas. ICE is also seeking to add 10,000 new detention beds through fast-track federal contracts, many rewarded without competitive bidding. Competitive bidding is the standard process where multiple companies submit proposals to the government. But in this case, ICE has cited an urgent and compelling need to bypass that process, awarding no-bid contracts directly to private prison firms like CoreCivic and the GEO Group under emergency rules meant to move fast. And the push for more beds was always part of the plan from the start. Back in December 2024, Tom Homan, now Trump's border czar, said that the administration needed at least 100,000 detention beds and a major increase in ICE agents to carry out the president's immigration crackdown. Now, immigration enforcement officials say by reopening these facilities, they can now, it's much faster than building new ones, but the issue now is the funding needed to get those 10,000 new beds and also the manpower to carry out President Trump's largest deportation operation.
That is News Nation's Jorge Ventura reporting. And President Trump today suggesting that he'd like to extend a deadline for TikTok's Chinese owner to divest the popular video sharing app. Mr. Trump had signed an order in early April to keep TikTok running for another 75 days after a potential deal to sell that app was put on ice. And now he's saying he's likely to extend that deadline again. In other news, if you're putting off going to bed each night, your mental health may be suffering. A new study from the University of Utah finds that people who delay going to sleep are more likely to experience anxiety or depression.
Far and away, what people are doing in the evening while they're procrastinating bedtime is being on their phones or watching TV, engaging in some kind of digital media use, which is, largely enjoyable, but despite that, might be negatively impacting their sleep.
Psychology graduate student Stephen Carlson spoke with KSL News Radio's Josue Sanchez.
With this study, there have been a lot of different types of emotional and cognitive factors which have been proposed to kind of underlie this kind of adverse sleep behavior. And so this study, we wanted to see across a comprehensive battery of different emotional, cognitive, and behavioral processes, what might contribute to these delays in bedtime. And so what we demonstrated across this kind of comprehensive evaluation was that the factors most strongly associated with bedtime procrastination was a tendency to experience negative emotions and the tendency to experience a low amount of positive emotion. So a profile really kind of consistent with kind of depressed tendencies. And so, for kind of follow-up from this research, we are interested in seeing whether or not, these different factors might contribute to bedtime procrastination at night, but also the other side of the equation, whether or not bedtime procrastination might relate to difficulties during the day in terms of our emotional health and our emotional functioning.
Carlson says many people look at their phones before bed because that's when they feel a lot of anxiety after a busy day.
People might procrastinate bedtime or, watch YouTube videos or go on social media because they are feeling a degree of anxiety before going to bed, right? I feel like most people have the experience of having racing thoughts, or as soon as their head hits the pillow, all of the awkward things you've said during the day come to mind. And so people might distract themselves from those kinds of anxious or negative thoughts before going to bed by procrastinating bedtime as well.
He says besides putting away our devices, a bedtime routine is important.
The first thing that we can do, that any of us can do really to really ensure our sleep health, is to try to maintain a consistent bedtime across the week and even on the weekends. That can really help set a habit that can help have a little bit of resilience to bedtime procrastination. But if you find that that's difficult for you, if you find that you are kind of losing track of time or something like that before going to bed, you can set an alarm for yourself to kind of cue you to go to bed on time, or you can try to develop a new kind of bedtime routine. So when you are doing that routine, it can kind of cue you in that it's time to, put the phone away, put the TV away, and go to bed. Other things can be helpful, though, as well, if you are struggling with anxiety before bed, like doing relaxation exercises, or even just having pen and paper away from the bed so you can jot down your worries as you are trying to fall asleep. And that way you can get the worries kind of out of your head and onto the paper. And so those are all things that you can do to try to minimize that bedtime procrastination, to try to get the recommended, 7 or 8 hours of sleep that is often recommended.
Psychology graduate student Stephen Carlson talking about the U's latest sleep study. A section of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail in Draper is set to reopen this afternoon. It was closed while fire crews cleaned up and watched for hot spots from a wildfire over the weekend.
The closure's on the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, and it goes from the steep mountain access to the Ann's Trail Junction. So maybe a quarter mile of trail is all that's closed.
Greg Hilvig is the trails and open space manager for Draper City.
The majority of them have been some of our downhill mountain biking trails, and so we close them because we go in with excavators and equipment to rebuild some of the features. So we have to close them for a couple of weeks at a time. We typically have detours around some of these sections, and so they're closed for a short period of time while we do routine maintenance on them.
He tells KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff how that maintenance improves the trail experience.
The Rush Trail is primarily made out of clay, and as hot and as dry as it's been, is one of my crew has rebuilt a lot of the berms. The clay is really dusty, and so by watering it in, it helps bind all of that dust and dirt together, so it forms a much better berm that's nice and firm, as opposed to being really loose and dusty.
Hilvig hopes that some sections of the trail will reopen today, but he says there are plenty of other trails open for people to explore. It's 2:30, midday at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we are watching this hour. New dust monitors tracking air quality near the Great Salt Lake. Challenges in search and rescue crews, what they face in Utah's great outdoors, and KSL traffic. Ricky?
We have the final cleanup of an earlier crash northbound I-15 near 4th North in Bountiful. A left lane is still blocked to traffic, and there's still some delays. Maria?
KSL's top local stories in 1 minute, but first, the latest from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Iran's military claims it's targeted Israeli air bases that have been used to carry out strikes against Iran, and the U.S. is ramping up more resources to the Middle East. President Trump calling for Iran's unconditional surrender of its nuclear program and says we now have control over Iranian airspace. That's raising concerns within Congress, with Republican Thomas Massey introducing a measure to limit U.S. involvement.
The bill invokes the 1973 War Powers Act, which calls for the removal of U.S. forces from a conflict if both houses pass a concurrent resolution. But that law, which was enacted over a president's veto, has been the subject of interbranch debate over its constitutionality since it went on the books 5 decades ago.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. An appellate panel hearing arguments today in President Trump's deployment of the National Guard to Los Angeles. The Trump administration trying to overturn a lower court's ruling to return power of state troops to California's governor. No decision was made today. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story: an increased number of search and rescue missions has Garfield County turning to a permit system for entering the slot canyons. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The permits aren't limited or timed, and they're free. The county's tourism director, Fallon Owens, says the goal is really just to promote safe recreation.
It's mostly to just give us information on who's traveling here to the area, how many people are in their party, so we kind of have an idea who is in the canyon.
Owens says the permits also detail how difficult the slot canyons can be and how serious they are about safety. Search and rescue missions in the most remote areas can take more than 2 hours. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Utah Department of Transportation is warning summer travelers to plan for some delays as they travel into Park City. Crews are repaving Snyderville near Kimball Junction. Construction will happen mostly at night on I-80, but there will be some lane closures during the day that will cause delays. UDOT is asking drivers to help them keep an eye on problem spots on the roads because potholes are doing a number on the highways right now. KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi reports.
Potholes are usually a winter problem, but they're showing up even now, particularly between North Salt Lake and Farmington. A major construction project is planned for the area, but in the meantime, the old pavement is susceptible to damage. Another concern is buckling roadways when the temperatures are hot. UDOT says motorists need to be extra vigilant while driving and watch for these and other problems.
People are asked to report those concerns as well as roadkill and signal timing problems to the UDOT Click and Fix app. Other local stories KSL is following. 5 women's soccer players from Utah universities are heading to the new U.S. Soccer Women's College Talent Identification Camp. BYU tied Michigan State for schools with the most players, going with 3. Utah State has 2 players heading to Atlanta for the camp. The camp is designed to help U.S. Soccer find younger talent for youth national teams in the college game. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow down by nearly 300 points today, closing at 42,215. S&P down by 50. The NASDAQ down by 180 points. Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a lot of road crews now on the scene of what appears to be a water main break. All westbound lanes of travel are now blocked. And this is in Sandy at just before Highland Drive, about 20th East and 9400 South. You need to avoid that spot and take an alternate route. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cyprus Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypruscu.com today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The thermometer taking some big steps upward over the next few days. 87 for the high today, 93 tomorrow, 102 degrees on Thursday before starting to cool down on Friday. 84 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studio.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. The best class I ever taught was a complete accident. It was in the spring and the classroom was scheduled to be painted, that ugly beige color. So we decided just once to meet in a pavilion in a park with the mountains on one side and a stream on the other. My 90-minute class stretched into 3 hours, not because of me, but because the class wanted to go deeper and further in our discussion. We held the next class in the same place. I used the same syllabus and readings from previous classes, but our natural setting triggered deeper inquiry that continued over the 7-week spring term. Think of all the poetry, innovation, and even spiritual insights that began in nature, where there are no slides, videos, or beige walls to confine your thinking. Then consider nature for your next team meeting. Learn more about learning in an MBA program from Utah State. Go to utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You were listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos. New air quality monitors help people know what's in the dust around the Great Salt Lake. Director of the Utah Department of Environmental Quality, Tim Davis, joined me this morning to talk about the importance of the monitors, which could lead to a dust warning system.
As the Great Salt Lake has fallen over the last 5-6 years, the lake bed has become exposed, and so the playa underneath the water, it's basically it's dirt that's exposed that had been covered by the lake itself, and that dirt has a salt crust on it. But when that salt crust gets weathered away, you get dust hotspots. So you get places where sediment that had been deposited into the lake over decades, all of a sudden could be exposed during windstorms. Could be liberated, turn into dust storms that move into our community. So that's where the dust comes from. And the legislature has funded a number of increased dust monitors over time, but we really needed a bigger, more comprehensive network of dust monitors to know what's in the dust. When we have dust storms, where does that dust go? And if people are at risk, where are they at risk and what steps can they take? So the Department of Environmental Quality has developed a draft, kind of comprehensive dust monitoring plan for Great Salt Lake and the communities around it.
Okay, so where are we in the process? Are there some of these dust monitors that are already in place?
Yeah, there are a handful that are already in place. They're in the Salt Lake Valley. They're in Davis County, but they're not adequate. We need a much more comprehensive dust monitoring network. So that's where we have a draft plan that we've rolled out with stakeholders, with scientists at universities, sister agencies, to get their feedback before we finalize that plan for additional dust monitors.
So describe how they would work. I mean, they're going to monitor the dust, but then what is the overall hope or purpose?
Okay, so there's two kinds of dust monitors. There's one that's continuous. So what that does is it takes real-time data of, is there dust in the air? Is there particulate matter in the air? And we're looking at a particulate matter that's 10 microns, so it's fairly large, unlike other types of particulate matter that we regulate, which is much smaller. It's much more fine. So we have continuous monitors that'll tell us if dust is in the air. And then we also have filter-based monitors that tell us what's in that dust. And so we need a network of both. And so that will allow us to gather data on when and where dust storms are happening, and then what's in the dust. Is it dangerous for people? And then we'll use that we already have a system in place that people can sign up for to get notifications if air quality is unsafe. So we'll build that dust information that we gather into our notification system, so then people can know if a dust storm is occurring, know if it's occurring in their community, and if they're a sensitive community and they need to take an action like stay inside during the storm, that they can do that.
How common are these types of dust storms, and who is most impacted? I mean, what communities are most impacted?
Every year we do have dust storms, and the frequency, and I don't know off the top of my head how frequency has changed over time, but they seem to be occurring more and more throughout the year. And that's one of the things we're trying to get. That's why we need a bigger network, so we can talk about how frequently are they occurring and who is at risk. So, the most immediate concern is people who are already sensitive to particulate matter, probably people who have asthma, for example. People with asthma we would want to get them notification that a dust storm is occurring. and allow them to take steps like I said, stay inside during those storms. But we do need better data on how frequently they're occurring and where they're occurring.
All right. We've been talking about the concern over toxic dust from the Great Salt Lake for a bit of time now. What is the risk right now, do you think, from that dust?
So I don't use that term, toxic dust, because we just don't know what's in it. We know that we know that in the playa of the lake, there's a lot of things that have settled into the bottom of the lake. We don't know that those, like arsenic, we don't know that those become liberated and where those become liberated during dust storms, because they're fairly heavy. They're metals. So that's one of the things we're trying to understand is what's in the dust storms when they occur and where might people be affected, and what if there is a health risk, what is that health risk? So we're really just trying to build a comprehensive network so we know what's happening, and then we can take steps and help people take steps to protect themselves.
So what is the goal as far as when you will have this network in place?
Well, the legislature gave me a new staff person we've never had an expert who could just focus on dust, not just in the Great Salt Lake, but around the state. So we're bringing that person on board this month. And then my staff are already working on building, doing all the things that we have to do to build out a network of 19 new dust monitors. So those will be on all around the lake and around other potential dust sources like severe dry lake bed. So we're going to start getting those. My goal is to start getting those new monitors in place this year. It'll take us a couple years to get all those 19 new monitors in place.
Tim Davis is the executive director of the Utah Department of Environmental Quality. You can always get the very latest information on the air quality at air.utah.gov. Midday with Maria Shilaos continues in just 60 seconds.
Life can feel hard or overwhelming sometimes, but you don't have to face things alone. Getting help for yourself or someone you're worried about starts with a call or text to 988, where you always have someone to talk to, someone to help you, and somewhere safe to go. 988 Utah is here for anyone experiencing mental health challenges or emotional distress. 988 Utah can even help you navigate how to support your struggling loved ones. Whether you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or suicidal thoughts, trained professionals are ready to listen and provide free, confidential support 24/7. Utah, don't hesitate to call or text 988 for you or someone you care about. The caring staff at 988 Utah can connect you to the right resources. Learn more at 988.utah.gov.
Have you been listening to KSL Podcast's newest show, Uinta Triangle? The podcast takes a look at Eric Robinson, an Australian who went missing while hiking in the Uinta Mountains. The newest episode, which dropped today, discusses some of the challenges search and rescue crews face when trying to locate hikers and campers in remote parts of the wilderness.
Art placed his pack in the helicopter, then climbed into the front left seat. 2 Duchesne deputies, the chaperones the sheriff had ordered to accompany him, took seats in the rear.
And so I got to fly in this thing, and there's 2 search and rescue deputies behind me, but at the end of the day, they'd get flown back out that same day, and I'd stay there.
The chopper lifted off from Moon Lake, its rotor wash kicking up a whirlwind of dust. Art watched the landscape below shrink as the chopper climbed, then moved north in the morning light.
Like an elevator going up the Lake Fork drainage.
The helicopter dropped them in an open space near Lambert Meadow.
I got out with my full pack and started setting my tent up. They were quizzing me, well, are you going to stay here by yourself? You know, there's bears and other dangerous animals here. And I said, I'm used to being by myself out here, and frankly, I don't need you here to walk around with me.
Joining me now in studio to talk more about this is Dave Cawley, investigative reporter and producer for KSL Podcasts and the host of the Uinta Triangle. Okay, you've spent a lot of time in the high Uintas even before you started working on this story. So talk about the terrain and the remoteness of this area.
Sure. Before that, let me just say, that show sounds pretty good. I want to listen to that.
Yeah. Intriguing to hear those search and rescue guys.
Wait a minute,
okay.
That's my story?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the high Uintas are my playground. In fact, I just posted a photo on my personal Instagram yesterday, looking back, I've been going into the mountains since I was a little kid. And I can't claim to be, the most amazing mountaineer or the best long-distance hiker that ever was. I'm not either of those things. But it's an area that I know very well. And this story, the disappearance of Eric Robinson, takes place across the entire stretch of the Uinta mountain range, from one end to the other. He was doing the Uinta Highline Trail, which is a long-distance hike across the entire Uintas. And part of the concept or idea of this show was, Eric disappeared doing that. What are the risks or challenges on that trail, both that could throw a guy like Eric, who's very experienced, for a loop, and also, what potential challenges does that face for or pose to search and rescue, right? It's a long trail. There's a lot of different areas you could branch off of that. And so in this episode that just dropped today, episode 6, I start talking about, what are some of those real challenges? The aerial perspective, you fly over in a helicopter, you think, I'll be able to look down and I can just see somebody. Why can't they find somebody who's missing up there? It is so much ground. And there are so many obstacles to vision, right? I mean, you've got huge expanses of just shattered rock on the slopes of these mountains. You've got dense forest. You've got all these little lakes, ponds, and it is such a monumental task for search and rescue with this story, but also with other missing people in the Uinta Mountains or, elsewhere in Utah, to manage that job of finding somebody in that landscape.
Okay, I have to ask you, you go off on your own a lot, don't you? I mean, kind of fess up a little bit. Like, you were one of those people that go off. Did this kind of creep you out, how difficult it is actually to find someone who goes missing?
It, creep out is maybe not the way to say it.
It would creep me out. That's why I say it that way.
I mean, there's a degree of mystery to the story, right? So I'm intrigued by it. But I also want to be careful as a journalist that we're not pumping up drama unnecessarily. So I try to take a very objective view in telling these kinds of stories. Yes, it is big. It is intimidating. It's challenging. And depending on the level of experience that you bring to the mountains, that's going to influence the way you see it. For somebody who's never visited high elevation mountains like the Uinta Mountains, this is going to sound really exotic. For me, it feels like, I go out and I walk off trail in the Uintas for fun every summer. You have to take that risk seriously, but it's not going to be as intimidating or spooky to me as it might be to somebody else.
Like me. Right?
Well, sure.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. So when you were talking to the search and rescue folks, was there something then that surprised you about how difficult and challenging the area is?
Yeah, I think what really stood out to me, so Art Lang, who you heard in that clip, funny thing, I knew Art personally before I ever realized that he was a part of this story. And the reason being is, there are a community of people who love the mountains, who go and visit these places for fun. And Art just happened to be hiking on the trail at the same time as Eric Robinson disappeared. And so he felt personally invested in getting involved. And we've seen this time after time where volunteers will come pouring in to try to help when somebody goes missing in Utah, various places, but especially in the Uinta Mountains. And Art's a guy who, if you sit down and you have a conversation with him, he can spin off every little, corner of the Uintas. He's probably been there, and he's probably walked off trail to get there. And he'll be the first one to tell you that if you're 10 feet off in the trees, hunkered down under a bush, somebody can walk right by you and not know. And I think that's the thing that really stands out to me from this whole experience is just, if you don't leave a detailed plan of where you're going to be, if you don't take some precaution about, potentially traveling with another person, right? Eric was out solo. It is so easy for somebody to disappear in a way that they cannot be found up there.
Are they usually successful when they go out and do these searches?
Yes. So this is one of the interesting things, too, in reporting about really any event is we tend to be interested in the things that are anomalous, right? If you think about true crime, like covering crimes the way we've done in the Cold podcast, those are really different stories, and that's what kind of rises them to the level of needing this coverage. Most search and rescue missions, we know statistically, end with the safe recovery of the missing person. A person who's reported overdue in the mountains, oftentimes search and rescue spins up. They go find the person, they bring them home. We in the public never hear about it because that's just the day in, day out of search and rescue. It's cases like this then that don't have that quick resolution that, become a little more dramatic, a little more interesting. And I think there is a possibility that it can skew our perspective into thinking, well, every time search and rescue goes out, they fail to find the person, which is not true.
Mm-hmm. I want to know a little bit more about this community of people and what prompts them to go out and kind of it's risky, right, for these guys too.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. If you get involved in a mountain search, you're facing the exact same risks, hazards that cause the person you're looking for potentially to go missing, right? So that can be everything from weather. That can be what are called objective hazards. So you step on a rock and it rolls and you weren't prepared for it. That's an objective hazard. Doesn't matter how good you are at being outdoors. Anybody can get hit by that kind of thing. So, but I think there is a sense of community, as you point out, in the idea that, hey, if something were to happen to me, I would want people to come rally to my assistance as well. And so if we find out that something's happened to somebody else, doesn't matter if it's a guy like Eric who's from Australia or somebody who's local, there are always going to be people who put their own safety maybe a little aside so that they can join the search in the hopes of bringing that person home safely.
Okay, tell people how they can find the podcast.
Absolutely. So uintatriangle.com is our website, and if you listen on Apple, Spotify, whatever, just search Uinta, UINTA Triangle, and we'll pop right up.
Thank you, Dave. More on Midday in just a few minutes.
Looking for reliable home services you can actually count on? I've got just the team for you. Mountain Home Services. They've been serving Utah since 1954 with honest, upfront pricing and zero hidden fees. Plus, they back every job with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. With summer heating up, now's the time to get your AC in shape. Mountain Home Services delivers fast, expert air conditioning service to keep your home cool and comfortable. And don't forget, they also handle electrical and plumbing work with the same trusted care. And here's the best part. KSL listeners get exclusive limited-time specials, but you have to call and ask. These deals won't last, so don't miss your chance to save. Call 801-543-2222 today and tell them KSL sent you. That's 801-543-2222 or visit mountainhomeservices.com. Get the service you need and the deal you deserve.
Quick check of traffic. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
We still have a left lane blocked northbound I-15 with a crash at 4th North Bountiful. That's still causing some backups. And a right lane also blocked due to a water main break in Sandy westbound 9400 south at Highland Drive. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Selling or buying a home, you're losing a lot of money if you're not using the Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Sabright Realtor team at Realty Path. Nothing compares to the Bank Buster loan. Home sellers, you get a quicker sale and a higher net price. How? The buyer of your home gets a rate as low as 4.75% with a payment that saves them hundreds every month. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate is not a seller concession that comes out of your pocket. It's all thanks to our affiliate lender, Sabright Mortgage, and their Bank Buster loan. Hire the Sabright Realtors when you sell or buy a home, and you automatically get a preferred lender and a Bank Buster loan. Buyers, you can start with a rate in the ones. Don't lose tens of thousands of your hard-earned money. Sell and buy your home with a Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit sabright.com.
Amanda Dixon will be at the Trucordia Insurance Building in Linden tomorrow morning at 11 to help celebrate some $6 billion news. Trucordia is one of the biggest companies in Utah and getting bigger.
It's the time for summertime grilling, and everybody prides themselves on being the absolute best at the backyard barbecue. Everybody has their secrets, everybody has their recipe, everybody has the skills. But I'll tell you, nobody can beat the grilling skills of a great steak like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I know there's a time and place for the backyard barbecue, but if you're really looking for everything to be just right, let Ruth's Chris Steakhouse do all the work. The perfect steak with the perfect temperature, served by people who are so glad you're there, and they take care of you, and the side dishes, the desserts, and here's a great part, there's no cleanup at all. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, they do all the work at either of their locations, 275 Southwest Temple in downtown Salt Lake City, and of course, up in the mountain environment of Hotel Park City. It's time to grill at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
This is Midday with Maria Shilaos, a new phone and service soon to be released under the Trump name. ABC's tech reporter Mike Dubusky spoke with the new Trump Mobile this morning on Inside Sources.
Yesterday, the Trump Organization, which is run by the president's sons, Eric and Don Jr., announced that they're making this move into the telecom space. They're announcing Trump Mobile, which is what's known in the industry as an MVNO, or a mobile virtual network operator. Essentially, these are sort of niche services that piggyback off of the networks of the more established players, right? T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T are sort of the big players in the U.S. market. So this service should offer similar coverage to those plans, but it doesn't have any infrastructure of its own. They're not flying satellites or setting up cell phone towers or anything like that. They're piggybacking off of existing networks. So it should have pretty broad coverage in the U.S. in short. It is $47.45 a month, which is significant numbers for the Trump family. And they promise unlimited talk, text, and data, free calls to 200 countries around the world. And given that this is an MVNO, it is a little bit more expensive than some of the other companies that play in this space. Think like Mint Mobile. You might be familiar with the Ryan Reynolds commercials. That is an MVNO. Also, Cricket Wireless is also in this space. You can generally get a plan like this for a little cheaper from those companies, but what the Trump Organization is saying justifies this additional cost is some bonuses. Things like 24/7 telehealth is what they are offering, and roadside assistance in case your car breaks down is included in this plan. A lot of questions about exactly how that's going to work in the real world, but that is what they are saying justifies that $47.45 a month.
Okay, well, you join Trump Mobile. Send us a text. Let us know, 57500. That's it for me today. Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News with guest host Scott Carty coming up next. Have a great afternoon.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Well, good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Scott Carty in for Jeff Kaplan. And our top story. KSL's top story is still no charges filed for the shooting of an innocent bystander at this weekend's No Kings protest in Salt Lake City. But we are learning more about the background of the so-called peacekeeper that fired the shots. KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson is live with the latest. Heather.
Scott, the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office says they have not yet had the case presented to them by police, so it's still too soon to say what charges could be filed. However, the latest they would have to file those charges or release the suspect is early next week. Right now, they still have one person in custody, Arturo Gamboa, who allegedly brought an AR-15 style rifle to the protest. A so-called peacekeeper fired fired at Gamboa, reportedly hitting and killing Afa Alu, who was an innocent bystander. Gamboa was the one arrested. The peacekeeper was questioned and released. Protest organizers said in a statement sent to KSL today that they had selected safety volunteers to work the event because of their military, first responder, and other relevant de-escalation experience. The one that fired the shots was a military veteran, but it's unclear if that experience is enough to protect them from liability. Local gun rights activist Clark Aposian says you need to be licensed to function as security.
If they were hired as security, they have to be licensed by DOPL, and if they're carrying a gun as part of that, they have to be armed licensed security.
Salt Lake City police say these peacekeepers were not trained, overseen, or sanctioned by the department and are legally considered the same as any other member of the public. Reporting live, Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
Thank you, Heather. So what charges could Arturo Gamboa face for allegedly bringing a rifle to the protest, or will he face any charges at all? Joining me live to give us some insight is KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Now, Greg, could Gamboa even be charged with murder?
I think it's unlikely, Scott, because he didn't cause the death, and he, in my opinion, really legally, I don't know that he's even responsible for the death. He was acting out. He was maybe scaring some individuals, and they were doing what they thought was to protect the public. But you can't harm others, especially innocent others, in an effort to protect the public. So I think the district attorney's office is going to have to weigh this. They may charge him with riot or some sort of misdemeanor offense, but I think it's highly unlikely that they could prevail on a murder charge.
So it does seem like it would be a hard claim to make that there was an attempt as well, because witnesses told police they saw him raising the gun before that volunteer peacekeeper shot him.
Well, they may have, but the evidence that we've seen from the video doesn't seem to support that. I mean, he had a gun, raising it. I don't know if that was just to keep it off the ground or what, but it didn't appear that he was pointing it or using it in a threatening manner. Again, even if he did, even if all that's true, he didn't use it to harm this particular individual. Certainly didn't use it to cause the death that was caused here. That was caused by another person altogether. So I really think it would be a stretch to call this a murder or a homicide in any kind.
We're with KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, and I'm Scott Carty. Greg, now, there's a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot on this, but when do you think that we could expect for charges to be filed, if any?
Well, he's in custody, Scott, and so they've got to do something. They can't just continue to hold him. They may release him without charges being filed, and they can do something later. With respect to Gamboa. With respect to the peacekeeper, he's not in custody, so they can make that decision anytime, and probably will do so within the next maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Although the footage seems fairly clear. I mean, I think that the decision on both of these individuals shouldn't be very difficult to make, but the district attorney's office can take the time that they need.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, thanks so much for your time today.
You bet.
The innocent victim in the shooting at the protest leaves behind a wife and 2 daughters. There is a GoFundMe set up for Afa Alu's family. They've just been getting a lot of love from people all over the country. There have been more than 9,000 donations in just a few days, raising over $380,000. You can find a link to the GoFundMe in KSL's article on Alu. It's on our website, kslnewsradio.com. Our top national story. President Trump posted on social media that, quote, the U.S. has control of Iranian airspace. At the State Department, Press Secretary Tammy Bruce says Americans should steer clear of traveling to the area.
We remind U.S. citizens not to travel to Israel or Iraq and not to travel to Iran under any circumstances.
President Trump also recently posted that the supreme leader of Iran is, quote, an easy target, but also said the U.S. was, quote, not going to take him out for now. More from ABC's Karen Travers at the White House.
That 6th round of talks was scheduled for last weekend in Oman, and Iran canceled it after the Israeli strikes. Now, the president had said that he had told Iran to make a deal and that they need to make a deal, but he said right now he is not too much in the mood to negotiate.
At least 24 killed in Israel, and with recent airstrikes, at least 220 in Iran. KSL News Time is 3:05. First look at traffic. Here's Ricky Meese.
Thank you, Scott. We do have Salt Lake City PD wrapping up a crash downtown at Main Street and 8th South. Also in the final cleanup stages, the accident with on northbound I-15 in Davis County at 4th North Bountiful. All lanes are open, but the delays linger. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And just ahead on KSL News Radio, it's Jeff's Minute of News next.
The wait is almost over. After 2 years of renovation, the perfect downtown lunch spot is now almost open. The Garden Restaurant opens on June 30th. The Garden Restaurant offers a beautifully designed space and deliciously fresh menu. It's close to everything downtown next to the Temple Square block. If you need something quick and on the go, or to meet a client, friend, or place to relax, the Garden Restaurant offers healthy options like handcrafted sandwiches, soups, unique salads, plus traditional favorites like homemade pot pies and the famous Lion House rolls. The Garden's new look and tasty menu offer something for everyone, featuring dine-in, patio seating, lobby seating, and grab-and-go or quick online ordering. Visit the Garden today. Reimagine space with remarkable taste. Easy street access on the ground floor of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building. Open weekdays 11 to 3. Check out the menu at thegardenslc.com. Fresh flavors, iconic location. The Garden Restaurant, opening next week, June 30th. See you there.
Regardless of how old your air conditioner is, there are a few things you can do to help it last as many summers as possible. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and like so many things in our life, it's easy to take our air conditioner for granted. If you keep a clean filter, rinse the outdoor unit off every once in a while, and have it serviced once a summer, you can reduce your risk of unexpected breakdowns. But eventually it will break down, and if someone tells you that your only option is to replace it, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. You could save thousands of dollars repairing it instead of replacing it. Any Hour rarely comes across an air conditioner that just can't be repaired. That doesn't mean you won't choose to replace it anyway, but being told you don't have options, that's not cool. So if you want honest answers and straightforward options, give Any Hour Services a call. And remember, every week this summer, Any Hour Services is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer as part of our Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. No purchase is necessary. You can see official rules or schedule your service at anyhour.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Well, here we are, KSL News Time, 3:08. My name is Scott Carty, in for Jeff Kaplan this week, but he has not left us without his Minute of News. Here's his first look at the whale on 9th and 9th.
This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com.